What's up, guys? It's Monday Night Live. A couple minutes late. I'm sorry. My dog is old and slow, and I had to wait for him to get up the steps. Or you would have heard his old ass clunking, bloom, 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 all the way up. So, small delay, and yeah, always blaming the poor dog. It's the poor dog's fault for everything. Maybe in my next video, I'll drop a Hulk Hogan leg on the dog, the junkyard dog. But yeah, what's up, guys? Let's see who we have. Got a bunch of people in here really early, and there's a loud card outside, guys. I live in a busy part of the town, so sorry about that. Eric, what's going on? Bradley in the house. Business 1234, and I'm looking at this Marino rookie here, and it's almost time for me to chase down that Marino rookie in a PSA 10. I got the Manning Marino co-signers that I wanted, and now I'm going to go after that card for my PC. I'm looking for more PC items at the moment with the market being down, and I'm going to chase some cards that I don't care if the market recovers on them or not. They're cards that I want. What's up, Neo in the house, guys? I'm probably going to be bringing Neo in shortly so we can talk. It'd be me and Neo talking for a little while, maybe 30, 40 minutes. And then we'll also do the straight Q&A that I always do. So we got Neo in the house. Steven Ryan, what's up? Bravos, like I always like to say, Bravos, always along for the journey. Brett Mandel, what's up? Matt, what's going on? Got Michael Ham here in the house. Like I said, I'm going to be taking Michael Ham up on a fishing trip one of these times. That would be awesome. Jason Valentine. Yeah. Surprisingly, I don't know. I was right around 39.10 on my subscriptions, guys, and I dropped my last video about my final thoughts on the Dallas show. And in like 2 days after that video, or a day and a half, I picked up like 70 or 80 subs like that quickly. I don't know if people were feeling sorry for me or what it was. It was just, man, it was crazy. Like, it was like either YouTube had been holding back and they just couldn't hold back the Flipping Steve army any longer, or I don't know. I can't explain it. Other than you guys are awesome and I have the best viewers and subscribers out there, you know, bar none. I'll argue that with anybody. 76ers are losing. I saw that Embiid was taken out. He's only got 11 minutes. That could be bad news. I guess we don't know how serious it is. Steven's saying that it's a knee. Yes, PA Slab Guy, what's up? It is a holiday, guys. Happy Memorial Day. You know, if you've served or know anyone that's served, you know, respect to everyone out there who's done that. You know, I don't even have enough words for all that. Will in the house. And here we go, guys. Let's go ahead and kick it into some market talk. Like I said, for myself, I'm not looking for a lot of big items for resale at the moment. I actually think it's a good time for me to pick up some items that I like, that I want. And, you know, a lot of times the majority of my buying has an end game, you know, of when I want to sell. But right now I have some targets that have an end game of I just want to keep them. I'm looking for a Marino PSA 10. That's a big target. I'm going to look for that in Philly. I'm going to try to trade into it maybe a little bit. I've done really good on the year. So even with the market dipping down, being way ahead of things, you know, timing has saved me, actually. So, yeah. Yeah, will stay myself. And, yeah, I always will be, you know, always, you know, I don't know how to act. So if I was an actor, you know, I would be in movie. Well, I don't have the looks for it either, but I mean, just, you know, saying my thoughts. I don't sit down and think of my content before I do it. And my camera keeps shaking because every time I touch my desk, because I'm sitting a little bit away from it. But yeah. So he says the Nets can't handle the Bucks. That could be true. We'll see what happens. We'll see how good Drew Holiday can play defense on that perimeter for the Nets. But yeah, So guys, in the comments, let me know what is some stuff that you're looking at. What are you guys buying right now? You guys PCing some items? Are you guys looking for stuff into the dip? Are you guys waiting because you're, just waiting to see how the market plays out? Are you selling your stuff and cutting losses, or selling stuff and profiting while you can? I would like to know some of your guys' thoughts, because I always sit behind the mic or in front of the camera and give you guys my thoughts. And, I care about what you guys have to say too. And so, yeah, tell me what you guys are doing in the comments, and we'll discuss that as well. That's true. Gaming God, LJ, eBay auctions are good deals right now because people aren't really going in super hard. It's like, but on the reverse end, it's hard to find auctions on a lot of the cards that you want. Neo's going in on Spida, on Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell's got, because Mitchell's one of those guys also that I think is safe. Whether you buy him now and Utah, creeps into the Western Finals, or even if they get eliminated, he's a future superstar, and could actually be traded someday to a big market, which would work wonders. Bravos, my soccer man's looking at Hazard and Griezmann, getting ready for the Euros. My soccer targets right now are actually Lewandowski color cards, because I like Lewandowski, and also I'm targeting some Pulisic stuff early, because we have, he's not in the Euros, but World Cup is a year away. So I don't want to wait 6 months before the World Cup when everybody else is like, oh man, U.S. men's national team is a good buy now. I want to get my U.S. men's national team targets now. So that's what I'm gonna do. Even if I, I realize I'm probably going to have to hold them 8 to 10 months before I can sell them. If I wait longer to buy them, my window on good prices is going to go away. I'm also buying up Harry Kane stuff. I think Harry Kane's super underpriced, and a couple things going for him in the soccer world right now is, he's going to captain. He'll captain England in the Euro, which is loaded with all those young players that everybody likes to buy. Everybody's liking to buy Mason Mount and Mason Greenwood and Phil Foden. Everybody's investing big money into these young guys, Rashford, that are slightly unproven, but the captain of the team and actually the best player on the team is Harry Kane, and his prices are like half of the price of some of these younger players. And he's looking to transfer out of Tottenham to a big club like Man U or Man City. So I believe there's lots of potential in Harry Kane stuff for the price. Just being the captain of the England team, England buys their players like, Yankee fans buy your Yankees. I always use that comparison, where you don't even have to be a top 20 player in the world and you're going to have a collectability. All right, spent a lot of time on that, guys. I got to catch up. Where are we at? This came in at this came in at 9:08. So I'm actually only 3 minutes behind. Michael's focusing on the minors in baseball. Yeah, I'm looking into football, but baseball I just don't do much with, especially prospecting. I wouldn't mind getting back into some nice pool holes cards. I've moved my pool holes cards because my profit margins were too big to hold. But I wouldn't mind getting back into like a really nice high-end pull holes card, because he's doing well with the Dodgers, and just hit home run, 670. I'm sorry, 670. Little dyslexia there, but 670, man, that's nothing to laugh at. That's nothing to like say, oh, only 600. That's like fifth all time, and pushing on A-Rod's, who's fourth. Steven says he's looking at Mahomes and Acuna, Tatis, second-year cards. Mahomes, super hot in Dallas. I tried to get a blue prism PSA 9 2017 for him, and it was going for, around 7,500. Just couldn't trade into one. High-end cards of Mahomes, dealers weren't looking to trade out of. They actually wanted cash for those. Some stuff they would take trade on. But players like Mahomes that they knew that they could sell, they weren't willing to take a lot of trade on players like that. Yeah, KD stuff came down to where his PSA 9 Topps Chromes were flirting around that $1,400 mark, which I don't believe would be a bad pickup. He's scoring a lot of points and could win another title. It must have been raining outside because I'm hearing a lot of water and cars like going through it. Sound like boats out there. Frank is picking up Brady. He's tough to buy just because he's so expensive, but he's about as safe as it gets. And, you know, when you compare him to some GOATs from the other sports, he's not priced nearly as high, maybe on some of the crazy rookie cards, but his inserts and his parallels, you know, he's the Jordan of football, but he's not getting Jordan of football type prices on secondary type cards. So I do believe there's a little bit of potential on that stuff. I picked up a Brady in Dallas, you know, because I think I can move it for more than what I picked it up for. You know, I may have got into it kind of hefty. You know, it was a $2,500 parallel card that I picked up, but I believe it's because I can find the right buyer to where I can profit off of that card. So Business 124, you have the PSA 10 Merino. Now you're after a BGS 10. A BGS 10 would be awesome as well. Let me know if you got any extras of those. Yes, Michael, I did get your IG message. I did, and definitely want to talk to you about that because let's see. Chuck says, you didn't get your Browns cards? Okay, so he didn't get his Browns cards. All right. Let me know what they were. With Chuck, get with me on Facebook or Instagram. There might have been some Browns cards from like a break or something, and there might not have been any. If there was something in there worth sending, let me know what it was. I'll either find it and send it because I did a whole lot of giveaways one night, and some of the stuff just got mixed up, especially with the break stuff because it was all free, and I was kind of like, I just wasn't organized. So let me know. I'll either send you out something better that's worth sending, or I'll send you, let me know what you like, and put it on Instagram or Facebook so I can get that taken care of. Phone's going off. Guys, I started a TikTok today for some reason. You know, my daughter does it, and I'm an old man, so she helped me do a TikTok. And it was just with my Pink Floyd sticker. So if you're on TikTok, check it out. It's just Flipping Steve. You should be able to find it. And follow me on TikTok. I'm going to do like some funny little skits with cards and things like that. It's going to be card-based. It's not life-based. And basically, it'd be me just showing off a card here and there with some music. They allow me to use good music, and you guys know how I love, music as well. So check that out for me. Might be some questions on YouTube for giveaways based on TikToks. Marique's Grave, got a local card show next week. Should he try to trade up or trade out of low pop Zion 10s, Blue Velocity, Purple Hollow, Purple Shock for football, or is it worth to wait and see? For myself, I'm looking to pick up some Zion stuff. His stuff is down, and believe it or not, in Dallas, a lot of vendors didn't want to sell it because they want to hold and wait for next season or the future. So yeah, I'm looking to pick up Zion for myself, but you do what you want to do. If you can get good value on your Zions, then sure. But right now, you're probably not going to get what they're worth in a down market, especially when you're trading basketball into football, because football is stable and on the rise, where basketball is on the decline. So you're going to get less value out of your basketball, and you're going to be paying in more for your football because it's the most popular right now. Neo says he doesn't hate buying Brady. I don't know. I just read that in a comment. Bravo, serial number cards that start with 1 worth more. For example, is the 1 out of 50 worth more than the 29 out of 50? That all depends on the collector. Some people really chase down stuff like that. I think jersey number might be more popular, but for myself, I necessarily don't really care. I don't myself. It doesn't matter what the serial number is on it. I would rather have a card in better condition. Like say number 1 was a PSA 9 and number 29 was a PSA 10. I would rather have the grade over the serial number or things like that. Gary says he picked up one of their Soundgarden cards. Big Chris Cornell fan. Yeah, me too. I liked all of his stuff. Audio Slave, Temple of the Dog, which was, prior to Soundgarden. Not necessarily prior, but it was a mix, between some members of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam / Mother Love Bone. And it's some of their a lot of the songs that they did were written about Andrew Wood, who was the singer who died of an overdose from Mother Love Bone. This isn't a music history channel, just, Matthew, tell me what your favorite Audio Slave song is, and I'll let you know what mine is. Frank says, for the record, you said you only buy and hold Mahomes, no one else, I asked. What about Brady's? You said only Mahomes, and we're kind of mean about it, but it's okay. Oh, I don't know what that is all about, but I'll go ahead and let me see how do I do this? Do an invite, copy to clipboard. All right, I'm figuring this out. I'm going to send this to actually, let's see. I'm going to send this to Neo somehow. Let's see here. All right, I got the thing copied. Now I got to figure out how to get it sent to Neo because I only have him on Instagram. Neo, is there another way I can send you this link here? Or could I just put it in the chat, but then everybody would click it. But I would still have to bring him into the channel. So I just went in there, Neo. If you're still in the chat and you want to come in, go ahead and click that. It'll bring you backstage. Everybody don't start clicking that like crazy, or I might bring you on screen and then you'll have to have something intelligent to say. Which NBA players / cards have disappointed in the playoffs so far? Well, anything from the Miami Heat because they just got straight swept. And guys, I got to eat crow on this one because I called them as an upset team. I really thought they were going to play a lot better, and they just got smoked on all ends of the court. I don't really know what it is. The only positive that can come out of that is from an investment standpoint is they might blow that team up. If they blow that team up or separate that team, because there's lots of age, or there's some age on that team that could probably move on from, and some young players that could get more minutes, or they may move a young player that's high profile, or anything could happen when a team looks to blow themselves up. You're going to have free agency, and free agency brings hype, especially on young players and things like that. So we got Neo backstage, guys. We're going to go ahead. We're going to add Neo in, and we're going to ask him also what he thinks about the same question. What's going on, man? What's up? Going to slide us into the Matrix.
What is going on, buddy?
You sure I don't have an echo going? All right.
Good.
I think I have you loud enough without an echo.
Yeah, the balancing act of Mike again.
Yeah, guys, let me know if I have an echo. But right here, Bravo says, which NBA players, and cards have disappointed so far in the playoffs? And you do the market updates and the market mover stuff, so you're probably really on top of this question right here.
Price-wise, not so much, but our boy MPJ has kind of sucked.
Yeah, and
we talked him up big last time I was on, and he's been okay, but he has not played as well as I believe we both thought that he would.
Yeah, he hasn't capitalized on the opportunity. And he was very, very liquid and desired in Dallas. The only two MPJ cards that I had, though, my two selects, my silver, my tricolor, I moved them in Dallas. So that's when they were peaking a little bit. So I'm glad I got off of those a little bit because he's probably stabilized at best or at worst.
Yeah, I was looking to pick up some of his stuff on Star Stock, and I never ended up pulling the trigger, so I guess that kind of worked out.
David saw Soundgarden open for Guns N' Roses in '92. That's pretty sweet. Here we go. Tyler Hero was hot last year. Should have sold last year. Yeah, you could have sold last year, and probably a lot of people did. And then you could. The same thing goes for a lot of young players and people who are hot. You sell them, and then you rebuy them when they dip, and then you resell them when they. It's like riding a wave. There will be some more hype around Tyler Hero, especially if they blow that team up. And his stuff's super dirt cheap right now. If you were a Tyler Hero advocate, and I'm not saying anybody should be, but if you were, his stuff is super cheap right now, and we've seen the potential of his cards before.
Yeah, I don't know that he ever gets back to his old prices though, given the new market dynamics that we're in.
Yeah,
he probably is an interesting buy low though, because if they look to bring another star in, he's the trade bait.
Yeah, he's the trade bait, or he's the trade bait, or he's the guy that could benefit from him. Because I think Duncan Robinson's contract is up. They're probably going to move on from the Dragon. And that's going to open up a lot of backcourt minutes. I think Kendrick Nunn is a good piece for them. I think he plays a little bit better defense. But, if they decide to go with youth, that backcourt could be Nunn and Hero next season.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see which way they go. I think they're more likely to use him as trade bait to bring in someone to run with Butler than they are to ditch Butler. There's rumors that that's a Leonard destination if he leaves the Clippers.
It could be, and I think Kawhi Leonard. Well, up until the Clippers tying it up last night, I thought he was very interesting because if they were to get swept by Dallas, his cards would absolutely crash, and then you have him coming into a contract year or a free agency year, and that is always you could buy at that basement, and if he was to move to a big time contender again, his cards.
Well, he could leave after the season if he wants to.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
yeah, he can opt out. He has an opt out.
Yeah, so. and if they were to get swept, he would definitely be opting out.
I think so too. But the Luka injury seems to have made that a series again.
Yeah, it has. Let's see. Steph Curry's affordable. What do we got over here?
Everybody's affordable. It's a down market.
Yeah, right. Flea market mixtape. DeAndre Hunter had 18 points the other night. Still waiting on him to pick up steam. I like DeAndre Hunter as a player because I think he has all the intangibles to keep him on the court, and he'll passively score points. But, Trae Young, I think his market has actually seen a little bit of a spike because it went down, and then people are getting what they wanted. They wanted Trae Young in the playoffs, just like they wanted Ja Morant in the playoffs. I think those guys are kind of very similar, where they were really hyped up coming into the season. They both dipped really hard because their teams were struggling. Then both teams got into the playoffs, and that's what people wanted. They wanted to see these two guys because they're exciting players, and they wanted to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, Trae Young's been impressive in the playoffs so far. That Hawks teams look good, and I really like DeAndre Hunter. Like NBA preseason was the player that I got the most wrong. I was really down on him and Reddish both, so I went 50-50 on that one because Reddish did kind of suck this year. But Hunter was probably the player I was the most wrong on in the NBA preseason. I've completely turned around on him.
Yeah, I just liked Hunter because what he did at Virginia. I thought that he was a much more matured player. Reddish has a lot of raw talent, but I didn't feel like it wasn't going to transfer to the court as quickly as it was for Hunter.
And that Hawks-Knicks series has probably been the most entertaining one to watch out of all of them, honestly.
Yeah, it is because both teams are young and haven't been into playoffs in a little while, and it feels like anyway, and exciting teams, yeah. And two big cities.
We don't know what this Embiid thing is. Like, it could be nothing. It could be like, hey, we think we could take the Wizards without him. Let's give him the night off. But if he's legit hurt, which is not the craziest thing for Embiid. Is there a chance the Hawks beat them next round? You know what I mean? If they don't have Embiid, anything's on the table. I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves because we don't know exactly how bad he's hurt. But I don't know. That could get spicy. Trae Young going to the Eastern Conference Finals all of a sudden.
Yeah, if Embiid's hurt, I don't think the Sixers, they could advance past Washington because they already have such a big lead. But they're not getting through the next round without Embiid, regardless of who they play, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean he's the entire team basically. He's the that the team is built around having him. So
Right.
if they would lose him for an extended period of time, that would get definitely get spicy. To see Trae Young go to the Eastern Conference Finals would probably be good for the hobby.
Dave G says, not blaming me, but before the season you asked on DeAndre Hunter and I said stay away. That's not true because I bought a whole lot of DeAndre Hunter stuff, slabs and raw cards.
You probably asked me because I said stay away from Hunter.
I was buying me. Like I have them. I was buying a lot of DeAndre Hunter stuff. I don't know. Maybe it was a miscommunication or something. I'm not sure. Because I even bought him coming into last season when his prisms were like less than $1. I bought a lot of 22 base prisms of his raw for $17 back before the initial market hike. And then I made
a lot of money on him flipping him on Star Stock.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just pulling random comments. Wondering what are some of the best plays that we might have missed out on. Take notes on the trends and get ready for the next opportunity. Those same trends show up.
I just did a bunch of research on baseball. A lot of baseball stuff seems pretty cheap right now. A little bit kind of a slower market, but Soto's getting pretty cheap. Some of the paper base cards are getting pretty cheap. If you're looking that direction, football seems kind of, I don't know. It's not really going down. It's not really going up. It's just kind of sitting there. It's very stagnant, in my opinion. Then NBA, I feel like everyone's just waiting for guys to get eliminated. You know what I mean? Like no one wants to go all in on a player right now unless you really think they're going to make a run in the playoffs. So it feels like everyone's holding their breath.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty. People are just, staying away from that. And
if you had money just to throw at the market, I would be buying Mahomes, to be honest. Like I think, you really can't go wrong there. I just don't see how his stuff doesn't spike at the National.
Oh yeah, my home stuff will be super hot. I'm looking, and that's my plan for the Philly show. And Philly, I think I can get some better prices than what I saw in Dallas because it's a little bit of a smaller show. However, it usually has a really good selection. So I'm going to go heavy football, and that's mid-June. That show, the 13th, so like the second week of June, and that gives me like a month and a half. To load up on some football, from that show anyway, before the National. And I'll take that stuff to the National and try to move it for a little bit more than I picked it up for at the next show. But
yeah, I got too greedy on Star Stock. I tried to pick up a Mahomes Optic PSA 10 red yellow for 2,200, and I started putting offers in on it at like 1,900 and was slowly moving it up. And then someone came in and just bought it at 2,200, which was a completely fair price for it. I just got too cute.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Let's see. Nick says, Steve, what's up? Has a question, but he's trying to find a good way to ask it. Man, he's trying to break the ice. I don't know. Sounds like a dangerous question there. Well, just how do you want to do you want to ask it privately or what's up? We're talking about some hockey here, which I don't know a whole lot about. Are you in the hockey market at all?
No, not at all. I mean, I know McDavid stuff goes for a ton. I know, Crosby stuff's good, but I don't own a single hockey card. I think I've looked up McDavid once on Market Movers just for the hell of it.
Yeah, I know McDavid, Crosby, and Ovechkin stuff trades pretty well. And then, but you see the big sale on the Gretzky card, so that, GOAT high-end rookies go for a lot of money, but also a lot of rarity in that card. You don't necessarily have to be a hockey collector. That's like a showpiece. So people with big money,
I think in a PSA 10, that's extremely low pop.
I think it might only be 2. Is it only 2? Chad probably knows, but
I don't remember. I know that there was something specific about that set and year that they were miscut or something, or there's something weird with the edges on that.
Yeah, because I think they were all the O-Pee-Chee set I think might have been hand cut. So the edges are really rough on those things. Yeah.
We're out of our depth of field when it comes to hockey.
We got Prodigy Card Collector, which I met Prodigy Card Collector in Dallas. Dude was cool. We talked for a couple minutes, And he says he got DeAndre Hunter and Colin Sexton cards. Let's get some thoughts on Colin Sexton, because I know you're out there in Cleveland area and you like those Cleveland guys.
I'm land before sex, which means I think Darius Garland's the actual better NBA player. Sexton's probably better for card values because he scores. Garland's just like the actual better NBA player. Sexton's due for a contract extension. I would not be 100% shocked if they traded him.
Yeah.
As a Cavs fan, I do not want them to give him a max contract extension. I think that's a massive mistake. I'm worried they're going to do it because he's Dan Gilbert's prep project, and the owner's very controlling in the Cavs, so I could see them locking him up. But as an actual NBA fan, I would prefer Garland. Sexton's prices will always be higher because he's the flashier player, but I don't think he's actually that good of an NBA player, like from a winning team perspective. He's a good stats, bad team guy.
Yeah, I think, if, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland moved on from him, but it would be smart for them too. I think they could go with Garland as their main guy in the backcourt, and they probably need a little bit of help in other areas.
Yeah, and this draft is backcourt loaded too, I think. So depending on where they land, could skew that a little bit. But this is supposed to be a very good NBA draft, at least out of the top 5.
All right, Bravos is asking if there's anything outside of the box that we're looking into. I mean, I remember when there used to be a such thing as something being outside the box, and then everything got popular. So, at one time, Marvel cards were outside the box, and tennis cards were outside the box, and
nothing's.
It's kind of hard.
I mean, look at F1. All the F1 talk coming out of Dallas. Perfect example. Like nothing starts unhyped. I mean, look at like you mentioned Marvel. Like I've been talking about those X-Men metal stuff. Like the box prices on those jump $50 every time Dave and Adams put some up for sale. They immediately sell out. Then they jack the price another $25 and put more back up. So like even that stuff's getting, crazy jumped. Did you see the? I talked about it in my video today. Did you see that PMG sale last weekend on the Spider-Man precious metal gem that went for like $30,000 in a BGS 9?
I think I was tagged. I think somebody might have tagged me on it in Instagram.
Yeah, it happened like 7-8 days ago.
Yeah. I didn't.
2 PMGs at Golden went for like $31K and $32K in BGS 9s. A 1 of 1 and a I forget out of 10, a green out of 10. It's both Spider-Man. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's a cool card though. Now outside of the box for myself, I still like the old, I guess Hollywood type stars cards. Like an old 1940s and 50s hand cut stuff of like Marilyn Monroe or, iconic figures from Hollywood. That stuff is all like hand cut type things and different manufacturers and such. So you don't see it a whole lot. Man, there's a siren going off behind me. You probably hear it, but I'm not picking it up. I haven't checked prices recently, but I heard like the 77 Star Wars stuff dipped really hard. I think that's an interesting play if you wanted to get back into that, because like Star Wars isn't in the news cycle right now. You know what I mean? Right. Like Mandalorian ended at Christmas, so we're not getting a lot of hype on that. It's all Marvel right now coming out of Disney. Yeah. But that stuff's going to pick back up again in the fall, like when Book of Boba Fett and the new Mandalorian season starts and whatever else is coming. Yeah, I think the tornado coming to your house right now or something. Yeah, I live near. It's sometimes that I think that's a fire siren. Sometimes we also get I live near the water too, so sometimes we get water sirens, but I don't think that's what that is. But I think like if you're looking for something non-sports card wise, buying the dip on that 77 Star Wars stuff could be an interesting play. I don't know if it'll work out or not, but it's intriguing anyways. You're getting in nowhere near what they were at the peak, and I haven't checked pop reports on those for a while, but I have to imagine that stuff's pretty low pop. I think you dabbled in those for a bit, didn't you? Yeah, I was buying the 77 Wonder Bread stuff, and the Luke Skywalkers hit massive, big time values when he showed up on The Mandalorian. And I don't want to spoil it, but people should have watched it by now. I'm sorry, but you're safe. That was how many months ago? Yeah, now? Right. But like you said, I think whenever the heat is off of something, you can buy in at a good price, and then it'll come back around. Especially things like Star Wars, it's never gone away. And
Well, stuff like that too, being low pop, it just doesn't
Yeah.
take much to jump it. You know what I mean? It's not like a Luca Prism where there's 18,000 of them. It takes so much to move the price $100 on that card. Whereas something that there's, pop 100 of, it doesn't take much demand to immediately jump prices on that. I mean, that's, me and you see that in the comic book market all the time.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Matt says he was happy with his Marvel cards he got at a local show and a Han Solo. Yeah, he picked up a Han Solo sticker. He showed me on Instagram. Han Solo is my dude. So let's see. We got Bravos asking for some NFL. Chubb and Hunt, the best running back duo in the NFL.
I would say yes. Just basically mostly on Chubb. I mean, Chubb's ridiculous.
Yeah. They say it's the comic book police coming to get you, man.
Uh-oh. I was just logging all my books I signed up for a GPA analysis count finally. And I was logging a bunch of books into that to track prices and stuff.
Okay, so Romo's better than Eggman says, why is a 2017 Mahomes considerably more than a 2005 Chrome Rodgers? 3-time MVP, Super Bowl MVP, also has won a Super Bowl. Doesn't make sense. Well, I mean, if you look at Mahomes, so we're looking at 12 years difference in those two cards, if my math is correct. And Mahomes also has an MVP and a Super Bowl also in such a short career. He's already won a Super Bowl MVP, and I think a league MVP. So he's already gotten two of the accolades that Rodgers has gotten over, his entirety of his career. And the fact
what's
that
your best case?
He's the future.
What's your best case with Rodgers? Like maybe one more Super Bowl? Like maybe? You know what I mean? Like that's your absolute best case. Like what's the upside with Mahomes? Like 3 more if things went right? Like, I mean, he could be, I'm not going to say anyone's going to be the next Brady because that's like just not really humanly possible. But I mean, Mahomes ending his career with 2 or 3 Super Bowls is like not the craziest thing in the world. Plus the thing with the Mahomes Prism too to consider is that's a silver because there is no base rookies in Prism 2017. Yeah. So that adds a little extra juice to that card. And I think that's a really tough 10. There was something with a print dimple on that card that made it extremely tough grade, more than normal. So I think that's a very low pop. I don't know the pop off the top of my head, but I'd be curious on the pop between the Rodgers and the Mahomes on those 2 cards. I bet you it's closer than you would probably think it is.
Yeah, it's a tough grade. There's a dimple by his throwing shoulder that comes off the assembly or the manufacturing line on a lot of
there's a million 9s of that. Not a million, but there's a lot of 9s of that card.
Yeah.
I really like the Optic Mahomes. I'm all in on that Optic Mahomes. I don't have any yet. I need to get some, but I just really like that card for the price.
I like the Optic, but I also like the Select.
The Select's pricey, though.
The Premier Level one. Yeah, it's gotten pricey. Yeah, I'm not going to. There's lots of cards all of us have missed out on, but I remember buying a couple of those and passing on a lot of them, a lot of them, because there was one seller that had a ton of them, and I wanted to give him one price for all of them, and he wouldn't come down to my price, so I ended up only buying like 2. I could have had like 12.
People don't want to give discounts on that stuff. I'll be curious to see the vibe. I'm going to. I'm pretty sure I'm going anyway. Card Collector 2 on YouTube. He's having his trade night this coming Friday at his new shop, and I think I'm going to head down for that. So I'll be curious to see kind of like what the vibe is there on like a trade night level stuff.
Let's see. Are we approaching a junk show era? Dallas, the National, and I think it's Dallas is quarterly. Atlanta within a few weeks, which is new. So we'll see what happens in Atlanta. I know Tampa is having them Clearwater and stuff regularly. There's the Miami show, but it all depends on what you're looking to get out of the show and whether it's a junk show or not. If you're going to find bargains and look through dollar bins and stuff, then some shows are different than others. You couldn't find that stuff in Dallas, but I'm sure I'll be able to find it in Philly. And are you looking to wheel and deal or social network or do both? Because, again, like the Philly show is going to be more card oriented. It's not going to be a lot of social media networking and stuff going on there. I'm sure there'll be a few, but so I think each show has its own personality, and it depends on what you're looking for, what you're going for. So I don't think it's necessarily a junk show era because the moment you roll into a show that you think is not going to be a very good show, you end up finding a diamond in the rough and you come away a winner.
I think the next that Dallas and Atlanta show, I think, are going to be a little. I'm not going to call them like a junk show at all, by no means at all.
Mhm.
But I do think there's going to be some weird vibes coming out of that next Dallas show, because that Dallas show and Atlanta show are the same weekend, and they're both 2 weeks before the National. So I feel like attendance is going to be way down at that Dallas show. I could be wrong, but I just think there's going to be a weird vibe at that Dallas and Atlanta show with everyone kind of holding their breath for the National.
Yeah. Yeah, because that show is the next Dallas show is pretty close. Yeah. So, with Dallas being quarterly, there were so many people just stuck inside from big shows and, being excited. And I mean, the main reason I went to Dallas was because I wasn't sure that there was going to be a National. So I wanted to get to a big show. I may have not even attended Dallas if the National had already been set in stone that it was going to be a go.
Yeah, I was going to be really upset if the National ended up getting canceled at the last minute, because I probably would have threw my weight into the Dallas show that you guys were all at. I'm really interested in that Atlanta show. I wish that was not 2 weeks before the National, and I hope they do that one again, because the way I understand it, that's going to be cards and comic books. Like, they are advertising it as dual, and it's 400 tables. So that really appeals to me. And it's also, Atlanta's an easy flight to get in and out of. And the show is across the street from the Braves' new stadium. So it's like you could, do a day at the show, go to a Braves game, and get out of town. You know what I mean? Like, make like a nice weekend out of it, like with me and the wife or whatever, and kind of like check all the boxes on like a 3 or 4 day weekend.
Yeah. So I'm starting to get the feeling for myself that the National is going to go ahead and be a go. At first, I was kind of like second guessing it. I was just kind of like, I just came out of Dallas. I mean, to be honest, I had a little bit of, I don't want to say hobby fatigue, but card fatigue a little bit. And I don't mean fatigue as in I don't like it, but fatigue, or as in I'm tired of hearing about it, but fatigue as in, man, it was mentally draining at that Dallas show trying to make deals. And I was there trying to make a lot of deals. And you don't realize how mentally draining it can be sometimes, when you're going back and forth with somebody and trying to come up with fair prices and fair deals, and a deal going through and being excited and a deal falling through. And I would get back to my hotel sometimes at night and just crash and wonder why I was so tired.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got that your Dallas recap vibe video that you put out on Friday or Saturday, whenever that was. I thought it was a really good breakdown of your thoughts on that show. I thought it was a really good video. But I could kind of tell, like, in your voice, you just kind of sounded like I need like a timeout for like a hot minute.
Yeah. And I don't put content out a lot, or even like every other day or every 3 days or anything like that. And when I sat down to do that video, I was actually like, man, do I even, like, I still didn't even know if I was ready to talk about it. But I'm glad that I did, because, the realism, I mean, the emotion that I spoke with showed through, and that was the truth. I was still feeling it,
Yeah, I thought like your video, and I thought that which I had her on, Hannah from She Collects Cards. I thought you two had two of the better recaps that I've seen from like a post, a few days later, or not like hot from the show floor or whatever content. I thought that was two of the better recaps from kind of the vibe of the show and people's thoughts on the show.
Yeah, and I watched her talking about F1, and I actually ran into her at a dealer table where she was trying to deal for some F1 stuff. And she wanted to get some trade, and I'm not sure what happened. I know the deal didn't happen, but she was talking to the guy about coming back for it, an F1 card. Now, my take out of there on the F1 stuff was, I know a lot of people were talking about how it was selling out and you couldn't find it. But I think it was selling out because the supply was really low. The demand was there, but I feel like if every table had F1, then it wouldn't have been like, because it was very basketball heavy. But if every table had F1 cards out on it, I don't feel like it would have been, or seemed as if it was in as much demand.
See, I'm wondering if the print run for that is small. Like, I'm wondering if there is not a lot of supply of it, because I can't imagine they printed that into the ground, being it the first set of the, you know what I mean? Like the first version of that, and it being a semi-niche product to begin with. I can't imagine there's a lot of boxes of that stuff. I could be wrong, but
So E-Man's talking about Bellingham, Sancho, McKinney, Sargent. These guys are England and U.S. National team guys. I'm not sure who Tim. I think he's U.S. also. And then Bowl. We had to get our Bowl in for the night.
That's the only name I know on that list.
Yeah. Brian says aloha from Hawaii. Is it really horrible there, or is that just a joke? Is it a sarcastic horrible, or is it really horrible there? Man.
So I'm going to put pressure on you live. Are you 100% in for the national now, or are you still like 90%? You're playing a little cagey there the other day.
Yeah, well, here's the thing was that I traveled to Dallas alone, and I don't mind traveling alone, but whenever I go somewhere new, I like to experience it like with my wife also. Like we like to travel together. We've never been to Texas, and right now we're kind of stuck in the States. Usually we like to travel to Europe and things like that and experience stuff for the first time together. I didn't know if she wanted to go to Chicago or not and turn it into, a show / getaway. But the thing is that I'm really going to be tied up at the show a lot, and she's really not into the cards at all. Like she wouldn't even want to be in the show there, even walking around with me, which means she would have like nothing to do. So it's looking like it's going to be a go. I just wanted to see what she wanted to do first.
Maybe we could coordinate a wives club, because I know my wife was going, and I know Dustin's wife's going too, I think. Yeah. So that maybe the abandoned spouses could hang out at the outlet malls or go downtown or something.
Yeah, right.
That might be bad for us. That could be bad for us.
But yeah, I mean, kind of traveling alone was kind of really easy for Dallas because I was in and out. I was able to be where I needed to be. Very little downtime and very little wasted time. I was able to make the most of my time. So I just wanted to see if she wanted to go or not. But tonight we discussed it, and I was just kind of like, I'll probably be. And the other part is my daughter, and I don't know if I look this old, but about to show my age. My daughter's 21st birthday is that weekend. So it's not till Sunday though. So I can still be home by Sunday because I flew out of Dallas Sunday morning also. So, it's only like a 2-hour flight.
I have to imagine that's a short flight for you too, from Chicago to Philly or Jersey or wherever you'd fly into.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours.
I'm driving, so it's like a 6-hour drive.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be there now.
I'm just excited to meet everyone. Like I said, I missed out on that at Dallas.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to go to that last minute. So I'm excited to meet like you and Dustin and Brad and Hannah and Sam from Women of the Hobby and just anyone else that I run across, like the SCI team. Like I'm excited to meet those guys, like people that I don't even know yet. Like I'm just excited to like actually shake hands, fist bump, whatever, bro hug. I don't even care. Just excited to like be in a room with people face to face after a year of pandemic nonsense.
Yeah, it was funny when I met Dustin because that was like that just happened. Like I was his plane arrived later than everyone else. So we were at the show. Like I was knee deep in the show. And I was like, I need some air because I had been in there a while and I was going to walk out, cool off. And then he texts and he's like, and his friend was already filming him. He was like, where are you guys at? And we're like at the show. And he's like, I'm about to walk in. And as he was texting me that, I was walking out and we were like, holy crap. So it wasn't planned or anything. That's why I look at him and I'm like, if you listen closely on his video, I'm like, dude, you're taller than I thought. Because that was my first thing was that he was like, my daughter might not want to be around for her 21st birthday. That's true. But she probably wants to hang out with us and do things that she couldn't normally do. Like, yeah. I know she'll be drinking here in the States, but like I said, we've traveled to Europe. So my daughter's been to Italy with me. So she was able to drink there.
I've never gone overseas.
Yeah, she went to the Pearl Jam concert with me in Rome. Here we go, trigger finger. I still haven't gotten a Lando Calrissian comment tonight. Yeah, these guys are all hurt. Luca, Anthony Davis,
shirt on. If that counts for anything, I got the.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the injuries in the playoffs have sucked so far. It's really sucked a lot of the CP3 injury initially sucked a lot of juice out of that series, but he seems okay now. But now AD's hurt. We don't know Embiid's thing. Luke is hurt. Like, it's a mess.
It's the some of these guys have just Embiid has missed some time this season. AD missed a lot of time. And you wonder with AD, coming back the way that he did, was he in game shape? There's a difference between just being in shape and being in game shape. I don't necessarily know if he was in game shape.
Yeah, and I mean, that was my big concern. I did like an NBA playoff preview thing. That was my big concern with the Lakers is, they might get past the Suns, but I just don't know that they're, in the right frame of mind mentally and physically to get all the way to the NBA finals with us beat up. Like, LeBron missed and AD missed how many games leading up to that? That's hard to like come back and go straight into the playoffs. And, they had a very, very short offseason compared to everybody else because they were in the NBA finals. So, and LeBron's in his 36th year, like that starts to wear, like, that's got to be rough on him and AD both. That was my biggest concern with the Lakers and them making it all the way back to back. It's hard enough to repeat in a regular season with a regular off season. And then, these guys have the injuries and everything. And I legit don't think they're going to get past the Suns. I really don't. And I think the West is completely wide open. That's part of the reason I went and bought more Donovan Mitchell cards, though that could backfire on me in the next 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how that Jazz game goes tonight. But that, I've been adamant about I would really like to get a LeBron Topps Chrome, like a PSA 8 or 9, and the 9 prices are getting in the attainable range now. And I think that's going to be like the big thing that I walk into the National looking for is a LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 9. I know they're going to be there, and I think they're probably going to get bounced from the playoffs early, and I think his stuff gets even cheaper. So
yeah, on a lot of these guys that are going to go down as all-time greats that are still playing, or anything you want to buy right now is down. But if anything is going to recover, even in a down market, is going to be players like LeBron, Durant, Curry. And right now, those it's starting to approach buying points on some of those players for me.
Yeah, and for me, that would be a long-term hold anyways. That wouldn't be something I would be flipping in 3 months regardless. Like that would go and sit for a long time probably.
Even the 86 Fleer Jordans in like mid grades, mid to upper, 7s and stuff like that. That card was very sought after, very buzzy at the show, and I talked about it. But, vendors know that card is just too hot to sell at some of these comps that they're going for.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you talked about with the Zion stuff. Yeah, the market might be dipping on this stuff, but if they don't want to sell it, they're just not going to put it in the case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going to hold that stuff back. Like, it doesn't really make sense to sell Zion right now. If I'm a dealer or a vendor, I'm in this for my day-to-day. Like, I'm not going to sell Zion right now unless I absolutely positively have to have the money. Like, even in this down market, it's going to bottom out at some point, and some of his stuff is going to go back up again. Base Prism, we don't know, but his more rare stuff is going to see a price increase before next season. I fully believe that the market's going to be just fine once it kind of straightens itself back out again.
All right, so we got a player that we don't talk about a whole lot. Carson Wentz will be more successful with the Colts. I think that he will be. I think it's just, he's going to have every opportunity to succeed that he didn't have in Philly. He'll have a better line, a good running game. He's reunited with Frank Reich. The wide receivers are strong and young. Hilton's probably the oldest of the bunch, and you have Pittman Jr., who looks like he could be a breakout type player. I don't know if Paris Campbell ever gets healthy, but I think that he's in the situation to succeed. So he doesn't have any excuses this year. Everybody was talking about how bad the Eagles offense was. He didn't have any help. I don't know what his prices are at, but yeah.
Him staying healthy would be a success over his last few seasons with the Eagles. So that's a pretty low bar to clear.
So Giannis, sometimes polarizing to talk about because his cards have been very high and they're getting very low. Actually, I think Boris picked up a Giannis Prism in Dallas. one of the last days we were there because he liked that card. But they swept, but I don't know. I mean,
his prices have not gone up. I just,
yeah, he
I did
needs
that. I did
something else.
my Sunday video. His prices basically stayed flat. I think it's partially because they have the Nets next round. So, now if they beat the Nets and he doesn't see a price increase, I'd be concerned. But I think a lot of people are more in the wait and see, like, let me see how this Nets series plays out before I go spend $2,000 on a PSA 10 Giannis or whatever. Because this stuff's still not cheap. Though, I mean, it's come down 50% or whatever since its highs, but it's still not cheap to go out and get most Giannis cards for the average collector. And I think that Nets thing looming over them. But like, if he comes out and puts up monster games and they don't have anyone to guard him at all, like he's gone off against them every time they've played this year. I think that's the series that determines who comes out of the East. Like whoever wins that series is going to win the East, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
And that goes back to when I was talking about the West a couple weeks ago and how LeBron, or, if the Lakers didn't play their way in, is what I was talking about. If the Lakers didn't make it into the playoffs, I think you would have seen a little bit more confidence in people buying a lot of the players from the West, because so many people were thinking the Lakers were the team to beat. If all of a sudden they weren't even in the playoffs, now you have people more interested in guys like Donovan Mitchell and, even Luka, because now realistically, because I had seen a YouTube poll where 75% of the people still voted the Lakers to win it all. So even though that I may not believe in that, I see that a majority of the people were still thinking that. And I think it applied to the East, the same scenario with the Nets. Everybody's so strong on the Nets being the representative from the East that it's really, kind of lowered the ceiling on a lot of the other players in the East. But if you were to see the Nets get bounced by one of these teams, now the realistic shot of Giannis or Embiid or somebody winning a title, even Trae Young, becomes more realistic and makes people want to start gambling on their cards a little bit.
See, the interesting thing on the Nets stuff, though, is like I agree with you. Like KD stuff's way down. I mean, part of that's because the market's down in general, but you would think that someone like KD would hit a higher floor and start moving the other way sooner, unless people are afraid of the Giannis. Not afraid, but are kind of like, let me see him get through the Bucks first. Because if they get through the Bucks, then I think they could, either one of those teams could probably take the Sixers, especially if Embiid's hurt. But I saw on the SCI Discord, like someone was selling a KD PSA 10 Chrome for like $6,000 or whatever, and I can't remember the last time I saw that card that cheap. And someone mentioned it earlier in the stream chat about the PSA 9, the black bordered tops paper, like being semi reasonably priced now.
Yeah, and KD was, and there wasn't many players that were that I said were cold in Dallas. There was players that were hot, and then there were players that were just neutral. But, in comparison to what was going on with KD prior, he was absolutely cold till Sunday. But Sunday, I went to the show for only like 45 minutes because I had to catch my plane. But people were actually starting to ask about KD cards, and you hadn't heard that all weekend. And Sunday was the day after their first playoff game when they convincingly beat the Celtics. And people were starting to come in and look for those high-end KD cards, those patches and things like that.
So when you went into the show on Sunday, were people like, I mean, you were only there for 45 minutes, but was there a feeling of like, let me just sell this stuff at low prices just so I don't got to carry it home? Like people talk about that all the time, but did you actually see any of that firsthand? Not like they were giving it away, but just like the people were more willing to be like, okay, this card's still sitting here. I'll give you that little bit better deal or whatever on it to just move it.
I've seen that at a lot of shows, but I didn't see that in Dallas. And I believe the main reason is because a lot of those cards are the types of cards that sit for a long time anyway, because the stuff was so high end that it's not the type of cards that you sell every day. But if you sell one or two of those cards, it makes your entire show because it's really high end stuff. Now, if it was like, maybe if people were looking to move some base items, or if there were showcases of just base graded items and things like that, I could see people looking to liquidate that stuff out so they wouldn't have to pack it up, or even, the bargain boxes. But didn't see a lot of those. So it's the kind of, it wasn't a lot of liquid cards there. I know I keep using that term, but it's the kind of stuff that is, got to be specifically targeted by people with deep pockets and higher end collectors is really what a majority of the show felt like to me.
I was just curious because I was trying to formulate my exit strategy for the National on that Sunday, and like I was planning on at least swinging in the show for a minute on Sunday morning, but I was curious how much time to devote to hitting it on Sunday if there was actually legit deals that could be found.
So at Dallas, what was the most in demand current basketball player? At the time, Michael Porter Jr. was really in demand. Michael Porter Jr. and there was one more. It'll come to my mind, and I'll think. But people were looking for, or especially vendors were looking for reactive buyers, because the day after the play-in game, when Memphis played themselves into the playoffs, when I went back to the show that morning, there was showcases out of Ja Morant cards, just strictly Ja Morant base graded stuff, almost as if that stuff was held in the back until they put it up. And people even had signs. Like I saw one big showcase. It was on the corner. It was nothing but Ja graded stuff. And the sign said, Ja Morant cards, buy them while they're hot. It was a big sign. And I was just like, okay, they're really trying to, get people to react to that game last night and buy this stuff up. And also, I was doing a soccer deal on the last day, and, the vendor wanted to do some buy. He wanted to buy some stuff off me, but he wanted me to take some trade from him, but didn't necessarily have much that I was looking at. And the stuff in his showcases was actually outpricing the stuff that he wanted from me, to the point to where I was going to have to give him money. And that's not what I wanted to do. And I was like, and that's what I told him. I said, your showcase is too big for me to get any cash out of this. I'm going to end up owing you. And he was like, oh, I got more stuff. And he pulled up boxes of more lower end slabs in the anywhere between the $50 to $300, $400 range that were in, cases behind him that he never even had out for that show. So, I guess people like I said, they were just displaying their high end stuff, and they probably have that stuff depending on where they're going to be next. They'll probably put those cards out based on the clientele that they think they're going to run into.
You think there would be, I've never set up at one of those shows, so what the hell do I know? And I've never dealt with that high end of stuff. But you would think that, you would want at least some of that stuff out, because I understand that there's a certain segment of people going to that show that play in those 5-figure cards. But you would have to imagine 80% of your audience walking through there is looking for $100 to $500 cards. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know, but
yeah. Like with me, I was looking for some higher end stuff. Now, for me, higher end, the definition could be different than for like a lot of people. But
yeah, higher end to me is like, 5 to 10,000. Higher end to Sasha is 50K. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
it's all relative.
Yeah, it was diversity, but I think because I don't want to say there was limited space, but because it was really packed in, I think everybody was just trying to display their best, whether they sold it or not. It almost, in a lot of cases, it actually seemed like I just want to show my stuff off. I don't care if I sell anything or not.
A lot of people go for that. If that's your thing, that's your thing. It just depends on what you're setting up for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I walked up and actually Dustin and I chatted with this guy for a long time, because this guy, there was this one guy had a bunch of Jordan rookies. He didn't have rental showcases. He had showcases that he brought with him that attached to the table and locked it down. So he was loaded with stuff. He had a BGS 9.5 LeBron Topps Chrome refractor that he had just picked up, and he, apparently it's one of the only true gems out there. So he was telling us, yeah, I just picked this up. Then he had all these Jordans, and I wanted to trade my Jordan up, my Jordan rookie. I wanted to trade into like a BGS 8.5. And me and him he pulled a bunch of his Jordans out, and I pulled mine out. We were comparing them, looking at them, trying to make a deal. And then he was just like, you know what? I don't even want to get rid of any of my stuff. And he started talking about how he got in the cards and things like that. And he was like, yeah, this is like a $3 million showcase right here. Like, he was more like, this is stuff that I have. And he plain out said, I don't care if I sell this stuff or not. I don't need the money. I'm just here with my cards out.
Yeah. Or he might, he might make a trade for something if something else
Yeah.
super unique or high end walked up to his table,
Yep. Let me see. Let me go out here. Brian says, could guys touch on current slabs, store/sell options going forward? Star stock, my slabs, PWCC, etc. Any preferences, advice? I still haven't used my slabs. I think Star Stock is a good platform for slabs, especially, and you've recognized this too, especially as a buyer, because sometimes you can find deals on Star Stock, because people just sleep on that. But if it's good for a buyer, then it may not necessarily be good for a seller if you're trying to sell your slabs on it. I mean, the convenience and the fees are way better, but you may not have as many eyes on something, and if you're able to buy off of there cheap, then I'm not sure if you can get top end dollar for a card necessarily that you want to sell.
So what I found on there is, if a player gets hot, you can move stuff fast. Like when Acuna was nuclear, you could buy in and sell out of his stuff really quickly. Mm-hmm. It's a very reactionary marketplace, even more so than eBay. On the flip side of it, personally, I would almost sell on there for 20% less than what I could get on eBay to not have to deal with any of the BS.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like eBay is going to take 13% anyway. So if it's a
right.
$300 card, you're already down to 270. Okay. Now I got to actually a little bit less than 270. Now I got to ship the thing. I got to worry about that. I got to worry about eBay returns. You know what I mean? Like, is someone going to try to pull some nonsense on me? Especially this time of year in the playoffs, is the player going to get eliminated and then all of a sudden the value drops another 50% and they're like, let me return this thing because it wasn't as described or whatever. So like a $300 card, I would almost sell it on Star Stock for $250 just to not have to like worry about any of that stuff. To me, like just the peace of mind that sale is done and gone. The money is in my account and I don't have to worry about it anymore. Like I'm not losing any sleep over that at all, regardless of price point of card. And my slabs is great. I've never sold on my slabs, but I've bought on my slabs before. And it's pretty convenient. It's just everything's through PayPal. So you have buyer protection through PayPal. You have to apply for a seller thing and they're pretty vicious about kicking like bad buyers off the platform. So it feels a little safer than eBay. And they have, for your perspective, they have comic books on there now too. They just added comic books. Yeah.
That's cool. I know you're a John Morant guy. Jeff is asking, John Morant color and numbered, should you hold? I always tell people, it depends on what you're in at. If you feel like you can make a comfortable profit now, but if you bought at the peak, it's probably a bad time to sell. It's all in what you believe in the market as a whole. At this moment, it's believing in the entirety of the market more so than it is even believing in the individual players, I believe, because, everything's down and a lot of it doesn't have to do with the players. It just has to do with the market in general. But, you can speak on John Morant. I know he's one of the guys that you like.
Yeah, I really like Ja. And to me, even though, they're down 2-1 in the series or whatever, what he's done so far in the playoffs and the play-in has like backed up what I believed about him. You know what I mean? Because even though they've lost some games, like he has played pretty well. I mean, he dropped 40 or 50 in that one game and 40 in the game to get past the Warriors. So I always believed in Ja long term, and what he's done in the playoffs so far backs that up. But to your point, like really any sell question about any player, there's so many variables to that question. Like you said, like, did you buy into it last March before everything went nuts, or did you buy into it in December when it was at peak prices? Like my Ja Optic Purple, I love this card. I bought this right before Christmas or right after Christmas for like $550. This is down to like $300 now. Like I wouldn't plan on selling this anyway, but I'm definitely not moving it now with it being down. But if you got into it cheap and you can make a nice profit and you can move that into something else, I wouldn't hesitate, even though I really like the player. So it just depends on your individual situation. The first question you should ask yourself whenever you're going to sell is, what are you going to do with the money? And then are you going to go buy something else that you think can go up more? Or are you just going to sit on it? Or would you be better off just leaving it sitting in that player? But I think that's the first question you always need to ask yourself. Why are you selling? Like, what are you going to do with the money that you get from the profit? Are you going to something else more profitable, or is it just going to sit in your checking account for weeks on end?
All right. And I got a tweet from Triggerfinger. It's a photo of a Giannis rookie card, 2003 hoops, but it has rated rookie on it. Now, I'm not sure, Trigger, what your question was about that card. Did you want to know what it was, or was it, if you wanted to know what the card is, I believe it's a Taco Bell variation. I might be wrong, but I know that around those years that there was some Taco Bell or something variations where they actually put the rated rookie insignia on hoops cards. I might be off on this one here, but I
haven't heard of that before.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's actually pretty rare, but for some reason it doesn't often draw a premium price. But I think it's because a lot of people might not know what it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many people know that it? I always talk about that a lot. Like, a lot of people are like, how come this super niche card doesn't get appropriately valued? And a lot of time the answer is because people just don't know about it.
So anyway, now that I'm reading it, it's like a spoof card. It actually has the word over on it. I don't know if that was
overrated.
I don't know if that was rookie photoshopped on there with the rated rookie, because there is hoops cards from, I know they're at least from 2012, because I've seen the Kawhis and the Anthony Davises that were like Taco Bell issues. So I thought maybe it carried into 2013 also, because there is a such thing. I wasn't just making that up. I've seen the Taco Bell versions of hoops cards. Did we see the Randy Johnson Project 70 art card? I did not see that.
It's fantastic looking.
Oh, I didn't see it. I'm going to have to take a look at it.
It's him blowing up the pigeon in Duck Hunt art. It's fantastic. I should have bought. Is that still for? I don't remember if that's still for sale or not. I should have got one. It's right up Dustin's alley.
So Triggerfinger, did you just Photoshop the overrated rookie on there, or did you just put over the rated rookie? Because I'm not sure if Giannis has a Taco Bell version of the cards like Kawhi.
I think he's trolling.
So the Wizards won tonight. Does anybody have any box scores on that? Because my boy Roy,
I think he hit the game winner.
Was putting in some work.
I think he hit the game winner, or he hit not the game winner, but he hit a big three. I have it on the corner of my thing. I kept glancing over, looking at the score, and at one point in time, I saw him hit a corner three, and a bunch of people lose their mind.
I mean, I still like Rui. I mean, I think he has a lot of appeal in different markets. The Wizards are bad, but I was hoping he would have some good playoff games. They're still going to be swept, so it's not like I have any hope of, hey, he has a chance to advance, but they're not going to get swept, but they're going to get beat.
Rui had 41. Holy smokes.
41? Holy crap.
That's what someone said in chat. I didn't pull up the box score.
Did Rui have 41?
That's what someone said in chat. I didn't look.
That's sounding pretty tasty, because
you better get on the old My Slabs and start wheeling and dealing.
I know, I'm sitting on some crazy Rui stuff. Man, I gotta find it. Look, I'm trying to pull through my basketball
card right now while you talk.
You know what's bad when you're pulling through your basketball cards and all you're finding is Star Wars stuff.
I'm bad about that.
Well, where is? Oh, here we go. All right, I'm gonna ask chat for some advice.
He did not have 41. They lied to us.
Oh, they lied to me.
You did have 20 though. 20 and 13.
Did he hit a game winner though? Because that's almost better than
he didn't hit a game winner, but he definitely hit a big three. The game was tied, and he hit like the three to kind of like turn the momentum.
Yeah, I still like Rui though. I think he's got potential because I think he can be international as far as.
Good Lord, Russell Westbrook went 19 points, 14 assists, and 21 rebounds.
And he's a guard, and he just gets rebounds like Dennis Rodman. It's crazy. Yeah, I got some rare Rui stuff. This is a blue disco numbered out of 25, PSA 10.
Oh, that's a nice looking card. I'm not big on Rui. I never got that.
Yeah.
Like, I get the whole like international flair and stuff.
I thought, for the price, he was pretty good. These are two blue select prisms numbered out of $299. So, with Rui and a red wave, I mean, with Roy, I
Red
just
Wave's
got
nice.
some.
Jersey match.
Yeah, with him, I just got some good stuff. That's because I think that and all the stuff that I was buying with him had to have a collectability to it. It had to be rare parallels and stuff like that, because I believe there'd be a collector fan base for him, not necessarily an investor base for him. 41 minutes, my bad. Yeah, it's all jacked up. Yeah, Roy, all jacked up for 40
Yeah,
minutes.
Steve was like running to the, how he was going to end the stream and start posting on eBay like right now.
I was about to see what was going on. Yeah, Trigger talks about Roy. He had 2 ball dominant guards. When Beal was out was when Roy was putting up his best numbers. He was actually scoring a lot of points and had a really good percentage from the field. Actually, he was a guy I was tracking.
I don't know how they keep Beal long term on that team. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he come out with the whole statement this year about how he was staying with the Wizards, and that's where he was at. He's not going to turn on his team. So we'll see that. We'll see what happens. With him, I don't know if he got any did he sign an extension or anything, but he just is a points machine. But you wonder if he went to another team where he wasn't the dominant player, if he still puts up the same kind of stats.
I think he'd fit in well on any team.
Yeah, I don't think that he would become less of a player. That's not what I'm saying, because I don't think he has good percentage shooting. Just if there was less, if there was less basketballs to go around or whatever. If he wasn't, if there's other people taking lots of shots. When you look at the Miami Heat, and I know they've been bounced, but when you look at their box scores, everybody, they always have a lot of guys like in the high teens and nobody really carrying that team. Even Jimmy Butler and Bam. I mean, they were like super balanced, just because everybody, everybody was taking shots.
I see Cards and Comics question there. Dak stuff does seem cheap to me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Dak,
I mean, he was tearing the league apart before he got hurt.
Yeah, Dak is a good buy, I believe, for football, because every year there's hype around the Cowboys winning it. Every year you hear not just from the Cowboys fans, but they always put Jerry Jones always puts a competitive team on the field. They just always find a way to mess it up. That's what the Cowboys do. I guess, like, to your cliche of the Clippers are going to Clipper, it's almost like, the Cowboys are going to Cowboy, but
yeah.
But they always put a competitive team on the field that makes you believe that they can win, and
Yeah, I have a Dak PSA 9 sitting on Star Stock Prism that I might send home to take to the National. I feel like that's a card that you could. It's not like super high valued or anything, but I feel like his stuff will be sexy trade. I feel like any quarterback really is going to be sexy trade bait come national time. But maybe it's the reverse. I think everyone's thinking like, I'm going to bring all my football to the National, and maybe it's just like a market saturation thing, because that's all everyone's been talking about is, football at the National is going to be at its peak, which it should be. It's late July, early August. Camps are opening up. Like, that's like the peak of football excitement is end of July, early August. But I wonder if there's like a zig to the zag there on that.
Yeah, that could be very true. Everybody, putting their football out because they know that's, it's going to be hot. Now, there was something I saw here. Man, I'm not sure where I saw it. But anyway, so Jeff says, loves the videos, top notch on YouTube, helped you make money over the last year. Now, I never want to take credit, man. You make the decisions, and, congratulations to you for making a decision, because like I always say, you can do as much research and listen to as many people and get breakdowns of things and do your homework. But ultimately, in the end, you got to have the balls to put your money into your decisions. And not everybody does that. Some people do, some people don't. So, in the end, you're doing the buying because it's your money and you're the one taking all the risk. So if you made money, then take credit for it. Don't give your credit to anybody else, especially me. I just appreciate that you watch the content and like to chat with us.
Yeah, us content creators are no one special. We're just you guys. We just decided to talk about it in a public space.
Hey, look, I didn't even put my troll food out. I forgot to get my troll food out, but
Wow.
But we attracted one anyway. I always like to pull the trolls up and give them the 10 seconds of attention that they're not.
Maybe that's directed at me though, not you. They could be trolling me. You don't know.
No, well, either way, it's not cool to say. So it's like they get their 10 seconds of attention that they're not getting from someone else, and then it's easy to get rid of them. Let's see here. Michael says the rookie class is going to be selling for ridiculous money at the National. You think the NFL rookie class?
I don't know that any of the new 21 product will be out by then, other than the junk stuff. Unless he's talking about like Herbert. I think Herbert's stuff's extremely overvalued right now. I would be selling everything Herbert before the season started.
Yeah, actually, I forgot to mention him in my recap. Herbert, there was Herbert stuff. Tons of Herbert stuff all over.
I've heard that from a ton of people.
Yeah, it was Herbert crazy. Now, I don't know how much of it was moving. Some people were talking about it, and you saw Jeff buy a big gold kaboom. But there was just lots and lots of stuff.
Yeah, I think all those guys are, Herbert is so overvalued in my opinion. I mean, it's Kyler Murray 2.0, and not necessarily talking about player talent wise, but look at how expensive Kyler's stuff was last year before the season started, and then what happened once the season actually started. Herbert alone to even make a decent playoff run, has to go through Mahomes. The Browns are going to be good. It's the league's stacked, and I just don't. Right. I don't see it with him at all. He could be really good, but to justify the price level that he's at, he basically has to go to a Super Bowl, and I just don't see that happening for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to come out early and look halfway decent, and then maybe upset the Chiefs in a divisional game, it's like, you could see people go overreact and be like, "Oh my God, Herbert, here he comes." But yeah, you saw Kyler Murray stuff remained a little bit hot into the season because Arizona had such a hot start last year. But as soon as they lost a game or two and started to fall off a little bit, his stuff, you were hoping that you sold prior to that first and second loss that they had.
I mean, I know this is like echo chamber because everyone's been saying it, but I fully believe you should not carry NFL cards into season.
Yeah.
There's just way too much. You might lose a little bit of money here and there, but I think if you took the aggregate year over year and you just said, I'm selling every NFL card that I own, in mid-August, and then buy NFL in the middle of the doldrums of the season, I think year over year you would be up a ton. And like I said, you might leave money on the table here and there, but in general, you're probably going to come out way ahead because you eliminate so much of your risk.
And Joel says, how many different Herbert cards were made?
A billion.
And just in Select alone now, with all the different stuff going on with Select, I mean, the different colors, and it's crazy. There's no, which card do you target? Is it still base Prism? That's the liquid card that everybody targets. With older stuff, it's like I was talking about the Marina rookie earlier that I want, and I'm glad that there's just one because I got a damn Marina rookie, and that's what it is. You might find some cool little neat stuff, like I have a 1984 7-Eleven Slurpee disc that came off of an old 84 Slurpee cup and a 10, and it's like a sports flick type card. But really, manufactured cards from the top manufacturers, it's so much better when you can chase a Jerry Rice rookie or something that, it's the Jordan. The Jordan has the star stuff also, but it's like there's usually a clear cut rookie card that's going to be the one.
So that's I talked about this about a week ago, and I may end up doing a full video breakdown on it. I don't know, but I think it's a very interesting talking point. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, we'll just use Luka as an example. So Luka goes on and wins 3 or 4 NBA championships. He becomes the face of the league once LeBron retires. Whatever, he's not necessarily LeBron 2.0, but he's the next guy. So 20 years from now, to your point, there's a million different of these cards for these guys now. Like, what is the actual one or two cards that are the ones that are like people really want that one? Because you see it now. Like, low pop doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the most valuable. We see numbered stuff, Prism numbered stuff, sell for less than a silver Prism in a PSA 10 because people want the silver Prism.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think the obvious answer is like an NT RPA is like the ultra high end.
Yeah.
But when you're talking like a somewhat standard rookie card, like, is it still just Prism Silver? Like, is that the one that everyone gravitates to? Because you have so many choices now. And I just don't know, other than like an NTRPA, I don't see any modern card getting even remotely close to the levels of like what some of this older stuff sells for because it's so watered down.
Mm-hmm. And like, you know, I was looking for I've been looking at some Baker Mayfield stuff, and I was actually, because his stuff is a little cheap, I was looking for, you know, National Treasure stuff, and there's so many, there's even different National Treasures. I mean, I guess you have the one that has the RC rookie on it, but then you have like colossal patches and
yeah, the vertical one is the one everyone wants.
Yeah, the vertical
RPA is like the true RPA
one
that's worth a ton. Those always sell for way more.
Yeah. And this goes along the lines, and we haven't talked about comics much tonight, but along the lines of comic books, where with pop reports and
it's easy
to talk about this, where it's like, hey, a first appearance is a first appearance. There's not a bunch of parallels and a bunch of different, you know,
Mutants 98 is different ones 98.
Out there, you know.
That's it. There's one.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, with the modern stuff, with comics, just like I guess with cards, there is variations and stuff. But when you're talking about, you know, your high end comics, your first Deadpools, your first Venoms, you know, those that's it. It's Spider-Man 300 and New Mutants 98, you know.
Yeah, so I'm just curious to see, you know, fast forward 15 years, whether it's Luca or not, whoever Tatum, whoever it ends up being, like what is the couple cards that like stand above the rest? And I do think probably something silver will be like the go-to parallel. I don't know what it'll be, like whether it's Select or Prism or Optic or whatever, you know, because that stuff could change over the years. I'm a big fan of Optic Hollows. I think they're extremely underrated for cards. They're very low pop. They're sexy looking cards in my opinion. But,
yeah,
you know, it all just depends on what the demand is there for them.
We have Who Dat Comics and Movies in the chat, guys. Who Dat is a guy that I met in the comic book community. Actually, he does auctions, and I've talked about on my live streams that there's good YouTube auctions where you can get in for comic books, because I was very interested in starting one for cards the same way they do for comic books. I recently also found out that he collects cards as well, so he does both. He's a little heavier on the comics, I believe, where I'm a little heavier on the cards, but we both cross, you know, the threshold into the other hobby, and both find them both collectible and both fun. So that's awesome that he's here watching the live stream.
I'm just glad I put way more money into the comic book market the last 4 months than the card market.
You know, I probably have, and I've only sold one card on eBay since Dallas, and it's only been one. I've actually only listed one. You know, with you know, people are talking about trade up, you know, trade out of your base, trade into your higher end cards. But when you get those higher end cards in your portfolio or in your case or whatever you want to call it, you're going to want to try to move those in person as opposed to, you know, on eBay, because on eBay, you're going to have to find the right buyer or your auction isn't going to get the bids that you wanted to get. And again, I keep referencing the Tom Brady card that I picked up because that's a card that I got to move in person. You know, the Mosaic White out of 25. I got to find a Tom Brady collector to move that to, because they're going to value it more than just your average buyer on eBay. So, you know, that's a card, you know, that high end stuff, because there's no comps on it. You know, you can set your price in person, but a lot of times on eBay, people are going to wait for an auction to come along or look at your buy it now. You know, and it's harder to negotiate. A lot of times people come off their buy it nows, but a lot of times people don't want to even make best offers because it's too hard to negotiate.
Yeah.
Online.
Have you made any comic plays lately? I haven't seen. Have you bought much comic book wise at all recently, or?
Honestly, you know, I got into buying some raw comics, and I've slowed down on the buying because of the. I just got some stuff that I'm actually going to get graded.
Oh, nice.
So I have bought some raw stuff, and I got a guy that does the cleaning and pressing and submitting. So he cuts out all that middle work for me. I can send them to the same person, and they do all the stuff. And, you know, it's not very expensive to have it done. The last comic book that I think I've actually bought, let's see here.
I still haven't done the whole raw to grade thing. I should go through my stuff, but it's mostly pretty beat up because I wasn't kind to it as a kid.
Yeah, the last comic book that I actually picked up, and that's because I got a really, really good deal on it at a shop, was this Marvel Spotlight Moon Knight.
Oh, nice.
First solo Moon Knight. Now, I basically picked this up on value alone because the shop I went into is local, but they do way more gaming cards, you know, like they do a lot more of the Warhammer and things like that. But he just happened to have some comic books in his showcase there, and he wasn't really up to date on the market. So that comic, I say card, but that comic was like sitting in the showcase for like $400, and I was looking up eBay comps in the store. I went to the corner so they wouldn't see what I was doing, but it was selling. There was one at auction already pushing over $600 with like 5 days left. So I was like, daggone. Maybe I should pick that up for $400 because with the hype of the Moon Knight series coming out on Disney Plus.
Yeah, you'll be able to flip that if you want to, or hold it if you want to. Yeah, I've been picking up some lower end X-Men stuff. I think I texted this to you and Dustin or IG, but I grabbed a Romita cover. Oh, these are like $250. They're low risk to me because, you know, if any of this stuff hits, plus, they're just great display pieces, like classic Wolverine covers.
Yeah, those Wolverine covers
both have this one, the first Marauders. It's like $225. Like that's, I don't know, low risk. This is my favorite recent pickup. I adore this cover. I just think this is.
Oh yeah, classic Sabretooth and Wolverine.
Yeah, it's actually the first cover appearance of the two of them fighting.
Well, that's cool.
And it's just, I love that cover. And once again, it's like $200. It's low. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even so much for investment. Like that Sabretooth Wolverine cover. Like, I would be for $200. I would be happy just to display that. In my office. You know what I mean? Like, plus it has the upside of I think that could potentially go up. I think a lot of that classic X-Men cover stuff is too cheap, considering that that's the way the MCU is going to be going most likely. Like, X-Men are probably going to be. Once we get through this phase of movies, I think they're the next. They're going to lead the charge for a while.
Yeah, and some of these, like this is probably one of my favorite covers. This is the book that I really wouldn't want to get rid of.
You love Doctor Strange?
Yeah, this is the first Doctor Strange self-title. It was originally Strange Tales, so it's issue 169, but it picks up from Strange Tales. I just like the cover, him in the background. And on the front, because it's in black and white back there, he pops off in color. Yeah, I just think it looks really cool, and it's his first solo title. That's a book that I got that, you know, will probably gain some value, but it's also a book that I don't really necessarily want to get rid of.
I'm so torn right now. So I talked about this before. Like, I've been trying to be a little more conservative on my purchases because I'm starting to build the nest egg up, to, like the purchasing nest egg, to a point to that I could like get into something pretty nice. So I talked about like the LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 9, but in my mind I'm going, okay, I have like around, you know, whatever that ends up being, 5 or 6K or whatever. Would I rather have that? Would I rather have a Hulk 181 in like a mid grade, or a giant size X-Men one in the mid grade? Because all three are kind of around the same price,
right?
And it's like I'm only going to be able to pull the trigger on one. And now that I'm actually getting like in the range that's a fairly, one of those is going to be very attainable. I'm very torn on what it could be. It's probably going to be the LeBron, because I actually think that card goes down quite a bit more by the time the National rolls around. But any one of those three would be like major bucket list items for me. So I'm really torn which one to prioritize first. And
there was some comic books, and at the Dallas show, there was one of the side rooms. Actually, they had
saw it on Dustin's video.
I actually took a nice video of that because there was a lot of key issues in high grades on the shelf there. And I took a video of that, but I didn't put it into any of my Dallas videos because there wasn't really necessarily a way for me to work it in like the way that I was doing my videos. But there was some really nice comics on those racks, like you were talking, like giant size X-Men's and stuff in good grades. I mean, like what's considered
like a
grade
giant
for that
size
book?
X-Men or a Hulk 181. I could probably only afford
Yeah.
like a 5 to 6 or something like that, because
Mhm.
that stuff gets real pricey real quick when you start getting even above like 7 and 8s on that
Yeah.
stuff.
And he talks about Fantastic Four 48 First Silver Surfer. My favorite,
That's
one
been
of my
getting a lot of
favorite
run
covers
lately.
out there is Silver Surfer #3, I believe, first appearance of Mephisto. I don't have that book, but that's one of my favorite covers out there because it's orange and he's just so big on the cover and looks like Silver Surfer surfing right into him. I love that cover. That book I've almost pulled the trigger on a couple times, even on an auction. Who Dat knows one of the auctions out there called Jay Blitz, and he was pushing, or he was selling one of those at one time. I was so close to buying it, and I just didn't. And I don't know where the market is on that book right now. So we
A
can
lot of
find
that
some more
stuff's
stuff
really
on
spiking. People are specking hard on the Fantastic Four stuff.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer, Galactus, Mephisto, all that stuff's really getting a lot of run lately.
So Michael Ham's talking about buying Brady over LeBron. You would rather buy a Hawk 181 over LeBron also. So yeah, I just think Brady prices, when you talk about absolute goats of the sport, and you know, you have to get away from some of his high-end rookies when you're talking about that because they are expensive. But I think when you look at how the market blew up for Michael Jordan stuff across the board, you know, any cool-looking insert in a PSA 10, people just love it. It's highly collectible. I think that could be future down the road type stuff for Brady, just because I don't know if the reality of him winning 7 Super Bowls now seems like a reality, but it is like it's unheard
I think
of.
it's set in a little bit like right after the Super Bowl this past year, because this stuff got real pricey real quick. Like those contender autos and those Bowman Chromes and stuff really spiked.
But I feel like the fact that he's still playing may hold some of his stuff back because people are still saying, oh, well, we're waiting to see Brady fail, which means his stuff will come down. You know, I think the fact that he's still playing is giving people hope that, you know, he could have a bad season. You know, he could go out on the bad, kind of like Brett Favre did. And then, you know, if he tries to hang on too long, I don't see that happening because I believe he's too smart to do that. But, you know, if something like that was to happen, I think people think that would give them a buying opportunity because he is at like peaks right now. But I still think there's room like in the future, like once he does retire and
someone like him, you could buy and sit on for 20 years and be perfectly fine. I mean, he's, you know what I mean? When you're talking about those guys, when you're talking about like Brady, LeBron, Kobe, Jordan, you know, any of those types of players, I mean, you could buy at a dip or a spike. If you're in it for the long term, I think that's going to be perfectly fine, regardless of the current state of the card market.
All right. Yeah, Adam's asking about the Shaq 1B, which is the one that says trade card at the top as opposed to the #1 draft pick. I said that, you know, I think that it had sneaky rarity because we all know that 92 basketball is junk wax. So there's currently more of those Shaq, you know, 1As being pulled out of packs. There's more tops base. There's more of every Shaq pretty much out there being pulled out of packs and being sent in. Now they're tough grades. They are tough grades. But the population will go up nonetheless. My take on the trade card 1B or any of the hoops or skybox draft redemption cards was that the fact that they're redemptions. So even if they're pulled out of packs, that card is not accessible. So you're not going to see inflated pop reports on those, you know, as the other ones continue to go up and up, even if it's slowly going up on the PSA 10s. I believe what you have out there on the trade card 1B and the hoops and skybox redemption cards, you know, isn't going to see big population increases because you can't redeem those cards anymore. So I just thought it was a sneaky rarity and maybe a thing that a lot of people didn't know about. I was just kind of putting it out there to be informative. And let's see. I don't know what we're talking about, Will, but Will's talking about a PSA 7 for 2K. Which card is what's a PSA 7 going for for 2K? I lose track with the comment sometimes. Oh yeah, I tried to grab this comment. Other than obvious overpopulated base cards, what is my gut feeling about the basketball card market in the near future? You can go ahead and start on this one if you want.
I think it continues to kind of bottom out here throughout the playoffs. The guys that play it well and keep advancing, their stuff's going to keep going up until the finals, and then it'll probably drop regardless whether they win or lose, because that's just kind of what happens. But I think it levels off this summer, and then I think we get back into a more normal pattern of stuff dipping and going up at a much more normal rate. I kind of talked about it in my Friday video when I touched on the price movements so far in the playoffs. Like we mentioned it earlier, Trae Young and Ja Morant have seen good price spikes, but they feel correct. Like Trae Young went up like 15, 20%. Ja Morant went up 10 or 15%. To me, that feels fine. If this was this same time last year, I feel like they would have went up 75%. As crazy as the market was last year. Seeing a 10 to 20% bump for a guy playing well that was semi-undervalued and potentially moving his team on to the next round, or in Ja's case, kind of proving himself as maybe he is an NBA superstar level player, and them seeing those bumps, to me, feels correct. So I think once these cards kind of find their bottom, then I think we get back in the more normal movement. People that bought at the wrong time are probably going to lose their ass on some stuff, because I don't know that we ever see those highs again unless the players becomes MVP level. But for the people that bought last year, pre-bubble or in the summer or before everything went just totally nutso, they're probably going to be fine. You're just going to have to ride out the wave. I just did a bunch of research for baseball for a video dropping on Wednesday, and the baseball market actually feels like it's operating semi-normal. Like guys are down, guys are up, but it's not major swings one way or the other. Some stuff's more down than others, like high pop base paper stuff is way down, but the more rare chrome stuff's doing fine. Ohtani and Vlad Jr. have played out of their mind. Their stuff's going up like you would expect it to. And football has stayed relatively stagnant because we're in the middle of the off season. So the NBA market's been going down hard, but it's not like the entire card market's in total free fall. Certain stuff is. But I think once we get through this correction, crash, price adjustment, whatever the hell you want to call it, I think we're going to come out the other side and be relatively okay. But some people are going to have a lot of pain in between, depending on where they purchased, for sure.
Yeah.
So, but I think by the time we get through summer, I think you see once stuff bottoms out, card prices will start to go back up again in the lead up to next season. They'll probably spike in late October like they normally do. Then stuff will start to go down once we get in season. That seems to be the trend regardless of sport. Once the season starts, the prices go down, except for the guys that didn't see preseason run-ups and play well. That pattern's been established now since COVID. You know what I mean? So I think that continues.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, the rising prices on Ja Morant and Trae, it does feel right. What didn't feel right was coming into the season, their values. But, based on how the hobby's always been, popularity, success, winning, team success and winning, as well as performance is, usually the stuff that makes a card increase in value, or at least demand increase on a player. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing these guys have some success. We're seeing them play well. The teams are having success. Even though Memphis will probably be, first round exit, they're in the playoffs this year. You can't say that about the Grizzlies, for a little while. And then they're popular players, Trae Young and Ja Morant. People want to see them on the court. When Ja Morant does something really good, he lets everybody know it. He's confident in himself, and he's exciting to watch. The whole Atlanta team, in my opinion, is pretty exciting, and I'm not even a Hawks fan. But so we're seeing the right factors tie into price increase, as opposed to, the hype that was inflating everything. Said player could be this, as opposed to said player is this. And right now, some of these younger guys are starting to show us this is what they are. This is what we have to look forward to in the future. And, when we no longer have to speculate and, overpay, in my opinion. So it does feel right. Like you said, it feels like it all has felt in the past, in years of collecting in cards.
I do still think we're going to see off-season hype drive a lot of the prices up. And that's why I think you're still going to see those pullbacks once season starts. I don't think that's going away. whatever. You could buy the dip now on a player for a team that you think is going to make a bunch of off-season moves. And I think you're going to see price spikes based off of like basically what the Hawks did last year. A lot of the Trae Young price spikes were tied to the fact that they made a bunch of off-season moves and on paper improved the team.
Right.
So his card spiked way up because people put, like you said, a bunch of hype on him for stuff that he hadn't done. They came out of the season, the gates, and looked okay. They weren't like setting the world on fire. He wasn't dropping 40 a night like he was in previous seasons. So his price is tanked. Now they're in the playoffs and they're reproving themselves, and the stuff's going back up again. So, whatever team looks to be the one that's going to be the big mover and shaker, their stuff's probably going to see a big spike. Like if the Mavs get bounced, they're probably going to deal Porzingis. They're going to be making moves. Cuban's not going to sit. So I can guarantee you if the Mavericks go out and make a bunch of moves, Luka's stuff's going to see a massive spike based off that because of the hype surrounding Luka.
Yeah.
So you can kind of play some of that angle too.
Yeah, like when I was talking about Kawhi earlier, whatever team he would go to, not only, hype around him more, because we know he's an established player. You know what you're going to get from a player standpoint, mainly with him. But a team, if he was to go to another team, the excitement that it would generate for another team. Could you imagine if it was Dallas?
Oh my God, don't tease me.
But like I said, could you imagine that? Like you could, and could you imagine what it would do for Carson?
What would Luka's prices go to if Leonard signed with Dallas?
Yeah.
I'm not saying his base prism will be back to 2,000, but it would definitely see a 30-40% jump based off whatever it currently is.
And wherever he signed, like if he went somewhere and created a super team, all of a sudden you would see like we saw with Harden. Harden prices were pretty stagnant. As soon as he moved to the Nets,
his stuff went nuts.
His stuff went nuts just based on the move around it. I'm a Celtics fan. I would love somebody like Kawhi in Boston. You would see Tatum cards go crazy. People want when there's a player also that people want to see do well, and I kind of get that feeling about Tatum because he was very buzzy at the show. People just didn't want, they know that it's a bad time to buy him because the Celtics aren't going to do anything.
He's going to get bounced within a day.
Yeah. But you could tell people wanted to buy him. They just didn't feel like the timing was right. But you can tell that once the time is right on Tatum, his stuff is going to go. I got that feeling so strong. I almost bought a couple green prisms because I like that card. I
really want that card. And I think that's so like we talked earlier about like what's the card to have of a guy. If Tatum would win a championship in Boston, that would be the card that you would want to have.
Yeah, that green prism
probably his best looking card. I mean, not so talking about like crazy RPAs and all that stuff. Just
right. That stuff, there was a lot of talk about Tatum, even from the vendors. I heard vendors talking back and forth with each other as I was just walking by, and I could hear them saying, I can't wait for my opportunity to get in on some more Tatum stuff.
See, everyone's saying that, so I'm very curious to see if you're going to have to either wait extra long on his dip because he doesn't dip that hard. Like everyone and their sister, myself included, has been saying, I want to buy the Tatum dip. Like, please let Tatum fall. So how big of a dip is there going to be when everybody's talking about, I want to buy a Tatum dip? I think there's a possibility that you may have already missed the window. The window could have been 5 days ago. Like I saw some of his like 2017 select concourse bases go sub $200, and I'm pissed that I missed them. Like, did that card get back to that price? I don't know. Like the Tatum buzz is real after he, dropped what, like 40 or 45 and then 50 and then
he's pulling a Ja Morant where he's going out and playing great. He just needs some help, especially against a team like the Nets. And Ja Morant's doing the same thing. He's playing out of this world. But, they're such big underdogs. So it's like you see the potential with these guys, and you're just hoping that they get a little bit of help.
I mean, Boston could be that team we just talked about. Like Tatum and Brown aren't going anywhere, but I have to imagine they try to make moves in the offseason. I don't know that they could find anyone to take Kemba Walker's carcass, but like I can't imagine that Ainge sits idle with that team. Like Walker's they're probably going to try to move him and Smart and retool that team for another run.
Yeah.
Because Tatum and Brown are legit good. And Brown stuff, too. I would hardcore look to buy a dip on him. Like, even his Prism base, because that stuff's low pop. Like, everyone has to remember, like, it's the 18 stuff and newer that has astronomical pop counts. You go back to 17 and 16, even a base prism is like not, it'll be a couple thousand, which to me is not that bad. It's not
Right.
18,000 like a Luca or a Zion.
Yeah, you're right with that. That's why I really like that green prism, because it doesn't have to be serial numbered. It's still got rarity to it, and it looks awesome.
Yeah, and that's like one of the. I mean, that's not like a super rare parallel, but it's about the jersey match. It's the sex appeal of that card is high.
It adds extra collectability to it for sure.
For sure.
Let's see, lots of stuff going on talking about the grading companies and stuff out here. I can't, like, everybody's talking about. I see some HGA, some PSA, some SGC stuff going on in there.
Well, I did a live stream on Saturday morning, and I brought up HGA, and the people in my chat, there were so many comments about how late they are on orders right now.
Oh, HGA is falling behind now with their whole
a lot of people were like, I'm on day 20 on a 10-day. I know. I don't know if you watch 502 Frank stuff, but he did a big video.
I watched that one where he said he wasn't submitting to them anymore.
And I got a lot of people in my own chat, because he posted that like a couple days before when I did that live on Saturday, and a lot of people were saying the same thing. Like, they're way over on cards. They are giving refunds, I guess, but that's just a bad look when you're capped to, whatever they're taking in a week. Like, your whole platform is built around not taking in more than you can handle, and then now you're missing turnaround times on that. It's just a bad look. And I don't know if anyone brought up CSG, but one of my big predictions is that CSG was going to be SGC 2.0.
Right.
Like with what SGC went through last spring and summer, with everyone hating them because of turnaround times. And I was doing some research on Blowout, and it looks like they're heading that exact same direction. They're 2 months behind on checking in orders, and their bulk is out to 199 days right now, which is like 9 months plus 2 months for them to open the package. So, like, they're quickly approaching a year already and not really doing anything to stem the flow of cards coming into them. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that feel burned by CSG of like, hey, I sent these cards. I mean, I don't know how closely you followed the SGC stuff last year, but people were really pissed at them, and a lot of people are still pissed at them a year later about the way that they handled that. And CSG is like just following the SGC playbook from last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of backlash on them, and that could hurt their prices. It killed SGC's prices.
Yeah, and I was looking at an Instagram message that I got here because I wanted to make sure I got it right. This was from Sadie Family Cards. I believe they got a pretty nice store in the Dallas area. But he had messaged me that he sent a 53 card order to SGC, and they turned it out in 2 days.
They're smashing turnaround times, but I haven't done. I need to sit down and do like a data deep dive on them.
Right.
I just don't know that the resale value is still there with them. Like, people are subbing to them, but I don't know that the market wants their stuff still. I've heard rumors that their prices are doing better. I just haven't sat and looked at a lot lately. I don't know. I have some of their slabs. I subbed to them before. I'm not a big fan. They're, to me, they feel cheap in hand. I'm not a big fan of the way that the slip looks, or the flip, whatever you want to call it, the label. And they're not liquid. I don't know. I don't know. Were there a lot at Dallas? Like, were there a lot of SGC slabs and cases at Dallas or anything? Or
most of the SGC stuff that I saw was vintage soccer, and that was all kind of at the same table. And I mean, when I mean old soccer, I mean old soccer and baseball too. In the old SGC cases, because that's how people used to grade vintage, was the way SGC. So you see a lot of the old SGC cases on your Jackie Robinsons and your Ted Williamses, because I was looking to. That's two players I was looking at. From a baseball standpoint, I wanted to get a Jackie Robinson for the historical significance of it. But every time I looked at vintage baseball, a lot of it was SGC. So they hold that market still pretty much, it seems like. But I didn't see a lot. And if you did, it was kind of concentrated to the same tables.
Like, you could tell that they're submitting a bunch of stuff to SGC.
So I saw some CSG labels out there also, but they were also kind of concentrated to the same tables. Now, surprisingly, I think one of the tables was some of the guys from Hobby Talk or
Card Talk.
Yeah, Card Talk.
That's because Ryan submits the SGC.
Yeah. So, well, CSG, I mean, actually, and it was I can't remember the one that's really heavy in the soccer. I did a deal with the guy right next to me. Tyler, yes, Tyler. Yeah. Name slipped my head, but yeah, he seemed like he had some CSG stuff also. I think that might have been where Dustin picked up like his Baker Mayfield and stuff like that. But it was still a majority of PSA, and then because it was such a high end show where you saw lots of patches and autos, lots of BGS stuff. BGS still holds the market on the patches and the autos because they hold more validity. I don't want to say that right, but they're more valid when it comes to grading autos and stuff. People trust BGS over PSA.
See, I don't actually know that it's like, I get that. I don't know how much of that's that or just that. So like a lot of those like big time, like Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, rookie patch autos and all that stuff. When that stuff was submitted, BGS was the go-to. So I think that's the reason why a lot of that stuff's in BGS slabs. Because in the early 2000s, everyone sent stuff to BGS, not PSA. So I think that's how a lot of that stuff ended up there. Like I know personally SGC slabs, and this is just me going to my local shows and stuff. When I hand it, like, a vendor goes like you selling or whatever, what do you got for trade? And I hand my stack of stuff to them. I've had a majority of the vendors just take the SGC stuff and just immediately slide it to the side. Like they don't even want to look at it.
Oh yeah. That happened with me because I took a Kobe 96 Tops SGC 10 with me. And I was like, this is a liquid card. I'm going to be able to move this. And every time it seemed like somebody went through my box, that was one of the first cards that they kind of put off to the side as in not wanting.
Yeah, I mean, there's like all these new grading companies coming onto the market and stuff. Like, personally, I like Carson. Like, I talk to him all the time. Like, he's got his thing going. There's the new. I can't even keep track of all the acronyms anymore for all of them. But if it's for PC, do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, whatever slab you think looks the best, you do you. If you're doing it from a business aspect to buy or sell or whatever, it really has to be PSA or BGS, in my opinion. Though I do think there is a very particular niche market and a right type of card to send SGC to move in and move out of, like to just quick churn and burn. But it's like that $50 to $150 to $200 price point, I think. Because the lower end you go, the closer the margins get between a PSA 10 and an SGC 10. Like the price difference isn't as large. Yeah. So I do think you could work, like I think there's a grind there that you could definitely do because of how fast they're turning stuff. But you just have to be in the right headspace to sell SGC cards. And I could just never get there. Because like when I have I don't have it laying around, it's in my case and I don't want to dig for it. Like I have a Luka Optic base PSA 10 and an SGC 10. The card looks 100 times better in the SGC slab because it's black and white. The white border with the black slab looks great. I've had that thing on eBay forever, and I've taken it around shows forever. I can't even get a single offer on it, at least anything remotely realistic, even at what I would consider a fair price. Like I know like what an SGC 10 sells for. Right. I can't even get close to what I think would be a fair market value on that card. And that's, it's a Luka base optic. It's not like the most unliquid card in the world, Yeah. So to me, they're just still, you just have to be in a very particular mind space to sell those cards because you have to know you're going to get a lot less for it. And sometimes that's hard and they just do not sell as fast. And if you run them at auction, you just get killed.
Yeah. And back to BGS on those RPAs and stuff. I think the BGS slab actually, in my opinion, displays well. I
like BGS slabs.
I always like the BGS slab. And I think on these types of cards, because they're not the kind of cards that you have massive amounts of and you stack them and you want to keep them nice and stacked and neat, that people like the BGS slab on there. And I mean, the 10 on a BGS auto does draw a lot of respect from the hobby. I think it draws the highest respect overall, even if those were graded during the time of when all that stuff was happening. I still believe even on modern stuff, when you're sending in autos and things like that, BGS's auto grading services and stuff like that have always been has always been like their niche, like SGC with vintage.
I just think BGS left a massive opportunity on the floor the last 6 months.
Well, yeah,
like they've been.
I don't even know where they're at, and nobody's heard anything.
Like you don't. They've been such a mess for the last year, and you just hear nothing about them. Like they don't. I don't know. I just feel like they could have really closed that gap on PSA, not necessarily past them, because here's their biggest problem is their grading scale. Like the new wave of money, they just want to see a 10 in the corner of the label.
Yeah.
They don't want to see a 9.5. It is what it is. It doesn't make sense. Probably not. You know, is a True Gem BGS 9.5 any less of a card than a PSA 10? In all reality, probably not. They're probably the same goddamn card, but people want to see a 10 in the corner. It is what it is.
Yeah, the same applies to like the autos, because I tried to move. I had an Ovechkin card that I wanted to move that's an RPA, but the auto on it, because it's actually kind of like signed on the jersey piece, the grade on the auto is a 9. And even with like 3 of that in the pop report. Yeah. So every time, you know, and it's on the back. So vendors would look at the card. The card's graded a 9.5. They would look at the back and see the auto grade of a 9. And it'd be like, I just don't know if I can move this, because people that are buying these high-end items, they want to see that 10 on the auto. And they even told me, they were like, I have a better chance of moving this card if the card was graded an 8 as opposed to a 9.5, as long as the auto was a 10. So the people who are buying the high-end RPAs and autographs and stuff, yeah, the card grade is great to have in a 9.5 or, you know, whatever BGS grades it. But people are, you know, and I didn't really realize this till I went to a show with such high-end stuff. People are really looking at the auto grade, because that's actually what they're buying that card for the auto. You're trying to find, if you see a comment in here.
Oh, I have chat up on another tab.
Yeah, PSA does not want to grade base cards. I had an interesting comment on one of my videos. I think it was my PSA reveal, and I don't know how true it was, but it was a long comment about somebody doing math breakdowns and saying that the rumor was out that PSA was cracking down and things like that. Now, I don't know if that's just all rumor innuendo, but it was a long comment.
There does seem to be some math that backs. I'm usually pretty anti the whole conspiracy theory on pop control and all that nonsense. But there does appear to be some like actual hard numbers coming out that shows that either they're grading tougher or whatever, they're pop controlling, whatever you want to call it. The number of PSA, and it's across all years, at least based off the chart. Someone put a chart together. And once again, I don't know how accurate it is. There's no sourcing on it from what I saw, but there's been enough spec from a lot of big group submitters. And I think the one that actually really finally convinced me that something's going on, because he's one of the most level-headed people I've seen when it comes to content creation, is Eliteco 3 brought it up in one of his latest PSA reveals. And to me, if he's saying it, then I actually put weight behind that, because he knows his stuff when it comes to grading, and he knows how the grading companies grade, especially PSA. And he's very honest with himself on what he thinks his cards can get.
Yeah.
So when he's saying that he thinks something's going on, then now I'm starting to believe that something's going on.
Yeah, I put a lot of stock into his stuff too. He was.
So do I. I put more into him than I do just about anything else.
He was one of the first people I started watching when I got back in, and he critiques his own cards, and he's you know, he's not forgiving on his own cards, which is something that a lot of people are. You can't show favoritism to your own cards when you're going to do a submission, or you'll be upset, you'll be let down. But he's very realistic about what he puts on his cards. He even grades himself really tough sometimes. So
yeah, like when he gets subs back and he says like, "Oh, I didn't think this. I thought this should be a 10." He's like the one guy where I'm like, you know what? I actually believe you. That probably should be a 10.
Yeah,
everyone says that, like, "Oh, I think this card's undergraded" or whatever, and I usually take that with a grain of salt. But when he says it, I'm usually like, okay, if he's saying it, it must be legit. I put a lot of stock into what he says when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, Bravo says PSA 9s might be worth the same as Raw soon. On Ultra Modern, probably. Yeah, just because, I mean, in some cases, well, they're very close. Yeah, because in some cases now, if you get a 9 on certain cards, you're not getting back your graded card value, even if it was like a $30 submission. You know, if it was $30
Yeah.
to submit the PSA and you submit, you know, a Tyler Hero Prism and it comes back a 9, you're probably not getting $30 for it.
Yeah, I've talked about this recently. You know, like it feels like there's this whole swath of cards that are just ungradable now, like Topps paper base for this new class. Like, where does that go to get slabbed now? It doesn't even make sense sending it to SGC
It's just so
at
risky.
$30 a card.
Yeah, so risky.
Like, random base Prism guys, like even like once again, sending the SGC at $30 a card doesn't even make sense, let alone whatever PSA ends up doing. And you know, I don't know that CSG is a viable option. Their bulk stuff's cheap, but you might not see it for a year now already, and they've only been open for what 4 or 5 months.
All right, so Lee says SGC is good for vintage, but what year card do you mean when you say SGC is good grading company for vintage? I mean, my definition of vintage, you know, people throw the term vintage around a lot, but you know, technically the definition of vintage is probably pre-70, but
they're really known for their pre-war stuff. Like,
yeah.
honestly, like if you're talking like true SGC stuff, like you're talking like pre-40s, really.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the mid, you know, yeah, the 50s and the 50s tops stuff and things like that.
That's just what their reputation was for. That's what they made their bones. People would send to them over PSA or BGS for that older stuff. I don't know the roots to it. Because I've never really collected vintage, and I don't follow that market at all. But
I think it was because, and I might be wrong, but SGC started really, really small. They're still not super huge, but they started really, really small. It was just a small group of guys that were doing the grading. And I think the people, they kind of marketed themselves as not specializing in vintage, but they were going to give your card like more attention, as opposed to like a bulk company who's grading stuff really quick and getting it out, where, you know, that's great, you know, when you're just trying to get a 10 and you don't really care what the card looks like as long as the slab says a 10. I think people put more trust at the time into the SGC, as far as they were taking more time to grade your card and buy the card and not the grade, and they thought that they were more strict, you know, and that's kind of the rumor now also. But people don't want strict these days. People don't want strict.
They just want fair.
Yeah, people
don't want fair and consistent.
Yeah, people don't want strict on the modern stuff, but that pre-war stuff and vintage stuff was really hardcore collectible type items, and so they really felt like the grade justified the grade, you know, the card. Flea Market says 1970 into 1970 is now modern, or to now is modern. Yeah. Trigger says, got to get Steve to answer this one. I don't know what he's asking me about. But we've gone for over 2 hours. My live streams tend to run long like that. But we've gone almost 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I don't know how long I've been on for.
Yeah.
You get to talking, and the next thing you know, it's 2 hours later.
Trigger Fingers got his Lando question up. If you needed a last-second replacement as live host and auctioneer to sell your entire card collection on live television, which one of these candidates would you choose and why? So you got Linda Carter. Was Linda Carter the original Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Okay, David Hasselhoff, Ray Parker Jr. Now, he sang the Ghostbusters song, right? The theme to the Ghostbusters song, was that Ray Parker Jr.? That's all I know him for.
I think so. I don't remember.
Lando Calrissian or Vegas Dave. So I need somebody
to sell. It can't be Vegas
sell.
Dave because you'd light all your shit on fire.
Yeah, I need somebody to. This is probably going to be process of elimination because let me see.
What, am I getting Linda Carter in her prime?
Yeah, right.
Or am I getting like present day? Same question. If I get David Hasselhoff, do I get Kit or is it just David Hasselhoff? I would be worried Lando would steal my stuff.
Do you get Knight Rider David Hasselhoff or Baywatch David Hasselhoff?
Yeah, I have a lot of follow-up questions to this question.
Yeah. Man, I give a good answer on the Lando question last week, but
he said all of them in their prime. I gotta go Hasselhoff. If I'm getting Knight Rider Hasselhoff, there's no beating that.
Got the AI on it.
I just don't trust Lando. He would steal my stuff.
So he says Ghostbusters. See, Lando. See, that's the thing. That's the whole argument with Triggerfinger. He thinks Lando can't be trusted and that he's a traitor. And I always argue that, but he did the right thing in the end.
I don't think he's a traitor, but he's a shyster. So I think if he could he's going to take a cut for himself.
I'm going to go with. Look, I'm going to go with Linda Carter. I'm going to go with Linda Carter.
Not a bad answer.
Yeah, just because I'm not going to really say probably because she's a female in a male dominated hobby, and sometimes that gets a lot of attention. No. See, Neo gets it. Lando is shady. I don't know.
I'm not saying like he's like an agent for the Empire or anything, but like Lando's going to take his taste of the action. Lando's like working with Tony Soprano. Like you're going to, you know what I mean? Like you're going to lose a little bit of the cut to him just out of principle.
Let's see. Clothed or unclothed, she's still hot. All right. Chat comments are getting all over the place. You can tell people are getting antsy. We've held like 175 plus viewers this whole time, which is crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
numbers at all. I
don't know if it's dipped down below that. I mean, it's gone. It's fluctuated, but
I'm surprised because we haven't been like. There's been times where we haven't been super attentive to chat either, where we've just kind of riffed for a while.
Yeah, but the guys in chat, man, they get their own conversations going. Like right here, like I can't even follow them sometimes. It's just one big massive. You're correct. I have 2000 Ultimate Collection rookie that costs a new box, 5 cards, HEC graded. See, I don't know.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Yeah,
maybe they're talking about. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I saw a question earlier about sealed wax and what we thought about it. Maybe that could have something to do with it.
Prices have been going down on sealed wax, at least on 2019 stuff. I haven't looked at everything. Man, I will tell you what, if you could buy into 18 sealed wax on a dip, that seems pretty interesting to me. Because you got Luca, Trey, MPJ. Ayton's actually been playing pretty good for the Suns. I'm not saying like run out and buy a bunch of Ayton cards, but like he's not the stiff that he once was.
You got
18 wax, I think, is a good play if it dips, especially like select.
You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming back too.
Yeah, you have SGA, and that class is loaded.
He's gonna see how completely forgot about he is right now. You know what I mean? And he was playing.
His prices haven't gone down though. He's been fairly steady.
That's the thing. When people aren't playing, their prices don't go down.
Yep.
Probably not a lot of sales. You think it's sale based? Maybe a lot of people just don't put their stuff up for sale because they know it's a bad time to sell.
It could be, or
even when the market's hot.
Yeah, I'll look at for a second. I'll pull them up the market movers real quick. And I'll take a few more, then I got to sneak out pretty soon. I'll let you close out solo.
All right, man.
I go watch the end of this Grizzlies Jazz game.
Yeah, the 2018 football was good also. There's a lot of quarterbacks in that class. There's been a lot of, last year and this year and 2018, lots of quarterback classes. That's why it's so hard for a free agent quarterback that's just, kind of like a mediocre player, like a Cam Newton or Mitch Trubisky and stuff like that, to land.
So actually, his stuff has recently just nosedived.
Has it?
Boy, I wish I would have saw this. The PSA 10 Prism of his went for $122 at auction. That feels really cheap.
He was playing really good. I don't know how good that team can be. They're young and maybe up and coming. The West is tough, but he's still one of those guys. And again, he's one of those guys that people, I think, want to see do well. He's one of those hobby favorites.
Yeah, I think I pulled the shirt. I don't know if that came up or not.
I see it down here. Let's see.
There we go. So like look at this nosedive this thing took here.
Oh yeah.
So if I go down here, look at the detailed results. So they were going for around 150-ish. And then all of a sudden, the last couple days, 120, 138, 122 at auction. And that's fair. There was something with this card that makes it a tougher grade, too.
Oh, really? Well, I know that they forgot to put the rookie card stamp on it.
There's that, but there's something else with that card. I forget what it is, but that's one of the ones that's a little harder to 10 on because of something with printing.
Oh, okay. Let's see. All right, guys, it's getting kind of late. We're going on 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're getting ready to close out. We'll let Neo, say his piece
I'm going to
before he
sneak
goes.
out. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Minute.
Yeah, kind of impromptu, guys. Just give you a little surprise. Not just me. Give you some Neo action tonight also. So,
yeah, I was bored. I messaged Steve. I was like, hey, you want company?
Anytime. Like I said, the community is always, the community is the best part, or the camaraderie in the community is the best part about the community right now. So never.
Yeah, plus I like that we can sneak in comic book talk together.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I try that on my solo streams, chat gets mad sometimes. So. All right, guys. Northeast Ohio Sports Cards, if you want to find my channel, Instagram, all that nonsense. So, but good talking to you, Steve. We will catch you later. Have a good rest of your little stream here, finishing up. Peace, guys.
All right, man. Thanks for stopping.
Later.
All right, and it's just me and my big face, guys. I'll go for a couple more minutes by myself, but thanks for stopping by the stream. I'm quickly approaching 4K subscribers, which is awesome. So I'll start getting together, when I start hitting, the 1,000 area. I hit 4,000 I just hit 4,000 tonight, guys. So it's saying 4,000 on the dot. So hopefully nobody unsubscribes. I wake up in the morning, but I'm going to start putting together a giveaway. The first thing I'm going to add in there, I have a hanger right here, 2020 Prism football sealed hanger. That's going to be part of it. I'm going to start putting together a small package, or instead of doing like a package, let me get some focus here, where one person wins one big prize. I might do like 3 to 5 like small prizes, so we have multiple winners. So this will be definitely be one of the prizes. So make sure you're subbing and liking if you guys want to get in on that. And in my next video, I'll actually start going into detail about that, because I didn't expect to hit 4,000 subs so quickly. 2 days ago, I was closer to 3920. So I picked up 80 quick. You guys are awesome. And it's because you guys are sharing my stuff and helping me out. Like I said, I have the best. I'll argue this till I'm blue in the face. I have the best supporters. Triggerfinger, I have the best subscribers out there. Triggerfinger had me almost choked up. He just, sent me a message that was really nice, and it was awesome. I took it to heart, and thanks, Triggerfinger, for that. You're gonna get me choked up on a live stream, but I'm gonna fight it off. I love podcasts. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry, I don't know if I got to any of your comments tonight, but thanks for being here. I can't take as many comments and questions when I have a guest on, but when I have a really good guest on, like Neo, it doesn't matter, because we cover a lot of stuff just in general conversation. So yeah. Yeah, I liked it. Hey, what's up, Merle? Yeah, Merle, I checked out your channel. You got the mic in the interviews. Pretty cool. All right, guys, it's getting late. 2 hours, almost 20 minutes in. I could probably talk all night. I'd probably fall asleep in this chair, but I'm going to head out, come up with a video for you guys. I think I'm going to start. I picked up a phone holder for my car so that I can start doing some live streams while I'm driving. It's just going to kind of be like the morning commute and chat, and I'm going to do it a couple days a week. I don't know how I'm going to issue it out there, but and it may only have 5 people watching at a time, but we'll see what happens with that. It'll just be more of this, but even more, talking about current events and things that happened the night before. And again, guys, I'm going to go ahead and head out. And until next time, guys, good luck in your investing, and I'll see you guys later.